Back on Chuck Todd on the never-ending Iran war and other political news, plus conversation about our food system and supporting small local farmers with Sarah Voiland of Red Fire Farm and Kay Masterson, owner of Johnny's Luncheonette.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then in the second hour is Boston Globe film critic Odie Henderson on his latest columns, Where Did the Summer Blockbuster Go?, and how Odie ranks every Steven Spielberg movie. And we end the show today with Am I the A-Hole? Today's dilemma involves a very tall man and a rudely reclined airplane seat right into a 3-year-old child. Sound familiar? Jim's favorite moldiest of chestnuts next on Boston Public Radio.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Israel issued new warnings today in southern Lebanon, saying it will continue attacking. There was a ceasefire announced just yesterday in Washington between Israel and Lebanon. NPR's Jane Araf reports from Beirut.
In addition to the Israeli military's new evacuation warnings, Lebanese state media says Israel also launched multiple artillery and airstrikes into the morning. A Hezbollah official told NPR that the group officially informed the Lebanese president that it would not accept any ceasefire that did not begin with the withdrawal of Israeli forces from South Lebanon. The official asked to remain anonymous because he was not authorized to speak publicly on the issue. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz, meanwhile, said Israel was demanding the creation of what it called a demilitarized zone within Lebanon, while being able to continue attacks against Iran-backed Hezbollah. Jane Araf, NPR News, Beirut.
The Senate is set to vote today on billions of dollars for immigration enforcement. But some Republicans first want an amendment that would kill a nearly $1.8 billion fund. It's supposed to compensate people who claim they were targeted by the federal government. NPR's Sam Greenglass has more.
Approving 3 years of funding for ICE and Border Patrol should have been a cinch. Republicans do not need help from Democrats. But the measure stalled for 2 weeks amid GOP blowback to the unrelated so-called anti-weaponization fund. Earlier this week, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche promised the fund was dead, only for President Trump to say he didn't know if the fund was scrapped. Some Republican senators say the only way to ensure the fund is stopped is to block it by law. But it's not clear if proposed amendments to do that can be added to unrelated immigration funding. Some Republican senators have criticized Trump of sabotaging his own priorities. Sam Greenglass, NPR News, Washington.
A major gun control group is suing the federal government over its refusal to hand over some records. The group wants information that shows who are the largest sellers of guns used in crime in the U.S. NPR's Jacqueline Diaz reports.
The gun control group Brady is suing the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives and the Justice Department. Brady is demanding the federal government release information tied to something called Demand Letter 2s. These are letters ATF sends to gun dealers and other sellers who have been identified as selling a lot of guns recovered at crime scenes. Josh Scharf is Brady's general counsel and senior director of programs. He says this information is important to monitor how the federal government keeps tabs on gun dealers.
It's information that we need to improve public safety in this country.
The DOJ and ATF did not respond to the lawsuit yet. Jacqueline Diaz, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH newsroom in Boston, I'm Craig Lamolt. With the Democratic primary in Maine's Senate race less than a week away, GBH's Adam Riley says Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey is putting in a good word for her fellow governor, Janet Mills, who suspended her campaign but remains on the ballot.
Mills is running against Oysterman Graham Plattner, whose populist message has resonated with Maine voters. But he's also been plagued by controversy, including revelations that his wife learned he had sexted with other women. In a statement to GBH News, Healey's campaign noted that she endorsed Mills earlier this year and still supports her. But Healey also indicated she'll support Plattner if he wins the primary, calling it essential that Democrats oust Republican incumbent Susan Collins in November. Adam Riley, GBH News.
New data show an increase in state spending on contracts with diversity-owned companies, but a failure to meet benchmarks for both LGBTQ and veteran-owned businesses. That's according to a report from the state's Supplier Diversity Office. Lisa Ducharme leads the Mass Veterans Chamber of Commerce. She says she does think the state has been making an honest effort.
when you look at the different things that they've done, they've reached out to different organizations, they've reached out to different businesses, they've held different events.
The state has failed to hit its benchmarks for doing business with veteran and LGBTQ-owned companies every year since 2015. Sunny and hot today, temperatures around 90. Pretty much the same thing tomorrow, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 90. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio and seeks to help NPR be the model for high-quality journalism in the 21st century. This is NPR.
Welcome to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Going to be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow with State Auditor Diana DeZoglio, talking, of course, about her efforts to audit the legislature, live music, and more. Kind of disappointed. We hope to have Jill Biden with us today, but we don't.
Yeah, but we're going to continue to pursue it. There was some scheduling snafu, one of my favorite words. So we'll get it. In any case, not surprisingly, we're starting the show today with Trump, but with a slightly different angle. You know, we talk a lot about the policy issues from the second Trump administration, the long-term damage so much of his agenda is inflicting on the country. We talk less about the physical changes Trump is making. For example, the reflecting pool on the National Mall. Here's Trump at the White House yesterday. If you didn't see, well, here he is describing the work being done in the pool, inexplicably comparing the length of the pool to the height of America's biggest skyscrapers. Here it is.
We did a fantastic job. Those are among the tallest buildings in the world, including the Empire State Building, World Trade Center, Sears Tower, Chicago. So if you lay it on its side, you take 2 or 3 of them to fill it in, because the width is almost 200 feet wide, and it's going to be beautiful.
I hope everybody got that. If you laid the Empire State Building on its side, for example, in the reflecting pool, it wouldn't. Let's not forget the mega ballroom. What?
Big is the operative word here. Everything.
Oh, really? The biggest ever.
Yeah, the biggest ever.
Okay, so let's go down the list.
You know, reeling from the small hands.
Let's not forget that's Marco Rubio said that. I think it wasn't it, Secretary of State?
Yes, he accused Trump of having small hands.
Okay, thank you. Let's not forget his mega ballroom project, the gilding of the Oval Office, his Arch de Trump that he wants to install in Arlington, Virginia by the cemetery, or the UFC lighting grid installed in front of the White House for his big American birthday party on June 12th that he wants to make permanent. I don't know if he was joking or not yesterday. All this has us thinking about all the infrastructure that might stick around long after Trump leaves office. When a new president is inaugurated in January 29, will one of their first day promises to be to remove all the gold foil from the Oval Office and take a wrecking ball to all the other crap he's built? Or, as a columnist in USA Today said, which I really was thinking outside the box, should we leave it up to remind us of how close we came to losing our democracy under Donald Trump? The number to call or text is 877-301-8970. I also forgot the Trump Kennedy Center. Forgot to mention that. Remember when Curry Kennedy, I love this, when Curry Kennedy, one of Robert Kennedy's kids, said, the day I dream of is January 2029. This is before the court case a few weeks ago. When I get on a ladder at the Kennedy Center and rip those letters off the building. We want to know how you're feeling about Trump's monuments. And if you want them ripped down on January 29, or you want them to stay up as a memory, or if you like the monuments, call and make the case that he's doing exactly the right thing to beautify Washington, D.C.
I'll say this much for him. He has restored some of the fountains around the city that were broken. So I commend him for that. That was very nice, that if you come into certain parts of Washington, you can have those fountains working. But you know what kind of bums me out, too, in addition to all this? They've got this really nice, like a Franklin Park golf course, beautifully laid out. That's a municipal golf course. He wants to turn that into a U.S. Open caliber course, and there's a lot of concern that when he does that, no one's going to be able to afford to plan it anymore.
I don't even know about
that. Yeah, well, I mean, he says he's going to give people discounts, but I'm very suspicious about that.
No, but he did. No, he did. The people, with all, I don't want to embarrass you at the beginning of the show, the only people that get discounts are people that can prove that they've sexually abused women at some point in the past. Non-abusers will have to pay full freight.
Oh, and one of my favorite things, too, about the tickets to the UFC fight, that all the military members, I guess they have to show that...
Hank says they have to be fit. They can't be overweight.
No chubby members of the military are going to be allowed. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to send in a picture to make sure you have to do
You have to strip down for Pete. Hank says he's going to have a couple of pops check you out. And then he'll decide if you can go to the fight.
Yeah, you have to do 110 push-ups or something before you can get in. I don't know.
By the way, if you didn't see this scene, and unfortunately we can't post video for you, I'm watching the press conference. We're going to discuss the other part of the press conference where he trashes Caitlin Collins, and once again, none of the reporters come to her defense or do anything like potted plants. We'll talk to Chuck Todd about that in a couple of minutes. He has a woman come out who works for him, who has a dress up to her crotch. This is in the Oval Office. Hands him a what do you call it? A
whiteboard?
A graphic. No, a graphic with an image with the length of the reflecting pool.
The one he just held
and then
up.
all the other things, the things I just described. And she retires to wherever she retires. And he holds it up. And you just can't believe. We're at war that I know he finds the negotiations very boring, and that if the negotiations are over, they're over. And he's holding up a graphic showing that the pool is longer than the Empire State Building is high.
Yeah.
I mean, it is absolute sickness.
You know, the other thing is, I mean, not that I'm his interior designer, I'm certainly not, but I can recognize class and taste when I see it. I can't do it myself, but I can recognize it, and that's one of his big problems. I mean, he has no taste.
None. He has none.
It's tawdry. It's like just horrible. I mean, the gilded stuff all over the office.
Whenever you see the image of this ripped down, and now they're beginning the rebuilding of it, of the East Wing, I mean, is that, you know, one of the reasons I'm sorry that Jill Biden couldn't join us today is that's where the First Lady's offices used to be, right?
That's right.
And it would have been interesting to have that discussion, which we hope to have with her soon.
Newly tacky capital of the United States of America.
877-301-8970. So again, we haven't talked much about the monuments to Trump, built by Trump, or in the process of building. How do you feel about them? And what do you think of this unique perspective this USA Today columnist wrote, that we shouldn't tear them down? We should leave them up
I don't know.
to remind us about how close we came to ruin under this guy.
You know, Sebastian Smee, who won a Pulitzer Prize when he was at the Boston Globe for talking about arts, has this beautiful column in The Atlantic talking about the sight lines of things.
He won a Pulitzer for his.
Yeah.
Oh, you said that. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
He's talking about the sight lines between, you know, the Lincoln Memorial and Robert E. Lee's home, which used to be where Arlington National Cemetery is right now, and how they work it out that way, that things kind of fit together in this sort of beautiful way. And you were struck with the same line that I was.
This is beautiful. He's a brilliant writer.
Yeah, where I have to get to the right line. Yeah, when he talks about this whole being aware of the siting of Arlington National Cemetery, the Lincoln Memorial, the Robert E. Lee home, the other parts of Washington, they're all designed so perfectly. He talks about this being a case, the former, of a fragile, sacred conversation about sacrifice. The cemetery, obviously, will be framed and corrupted, and this is the arch, by a shallow rhetoric of triumph. Isn't that just
beautiful.
Great? You know,
Jesse, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this is not a memorial to a war. It's not a memorial to sacrifices by men and women in the military. It's a arc of triumph, so he can compete with Napoleon.
Exactly. Jesse in Fitchburg said there actually is one thing longer than the reflecting pool, the Epstein files. That is true. Sophia in Cambridge, you'd be first. Welcome to the show. Hi.
I think we should treat it like a rage room. We should keep up his monuments, and we should put one of those rage room signs in front of it and have vendors selling eggs, sledgehammers, spray paint, you name it, and just have everybody able to go at it when it's done, just like they did to Mussolini's statues when he left. They just let people trash them. And so I think that would get us all that angst that we've been holding on to for so long out of our systems for us, the American people, to actually be able to go and destroy these monuments piece by piece.
Can I tell you, that is beyond brilliant. That is just, talk about a cathartic experience.
Yeah.
Sophia, that's great. Thank you for the call.
Well, someone texted earlier about how when Khrushchev came into power in Russia back in the late 50s and 60s, how they de-Stalinized much of Russia. And I don't know enough about that to know, but I presume it was getting rid of a lot of the things that he erected to himself.
If he
and
builds
other
this
people.
arch, though, as tacky as it is, and is
Horrible.
But what do you rip it down?
I don't know.
What do you do?
I don't know. I mean, like the Sebastian Smee piece said, there's the Vietnam veterans, and good for them, have got a lawsuit against this saying that it besmirches.
I know, but if it's
Arlington.
built, you're going to 250 feet. Again, it's crass. It's inappropriately placed. Do you tear it down?
I would.
Okay.
What would you do? Leave it there?
Tear it down. Okay. I mean, I probably would. Even though this guy's point has this. I think one thing that he did that was as crass as possible that's out of the way, I would leave just as a reminder of this presidency and how close we came, as I said before. I don't know. Amy in Rhode Island, welcome to the show. Hello.
Hi. You guys are the only thing and your team that get me through this, so thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to sign up for Sophia's idea. I think it's amazing. The point I wanted to make was Trump is trying to erase history. And if we take out everything that he put up or don't put up something in its place to remind us, then aren't we just as bad as he? So let's think of something, whether it's some sort of statue with him and Epstein frolicking through the fields or
that's
something.
a great idea. That
Don't you
statue,
love those?
holding hands or whatever they're doing.
Oh, you've all seen those. And there's the other one of Epstein and Trump together on the bow of the Titanic, like off the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. That's, they're embracing together.
But go ahead, Amy.
Even better, yes. So I vote for a combination of Sophia's idea and some version of something to make sure this never, ever happens again.
Thank you, Amy, for a great call as well. 877-301-8970.
Tom Brady's been invited to the UFC fight. We'll see if he shows up.
You remember what got him in trouble? The hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hat in his locker kind of thing.
Joe Rogan is going, even though he's disapproving of it. And by the way, I don't know anything about this stuff. I did hear a long interview with Dana White, who sounded like a reasonable guy. But
he's a pretty successful business guy.
Usually he's a successful guy, very charming. And
he's in charge of whatever it is, UFC or whatever the
He
hell
also
it
claimed
is.
he spent a lot of his time in Massachusetts and used to be a liberal. And when he was asked, it was on the New Yorker Radio Hour, when he was asked about Trump sending out the picture of Barack and Michelle Obama looking like apes, he claimed he didn't know about that.
Well, it's the Trump thing. I didn't see it.
Yeah, so I don't know if he was telling the truth there or not. This seems hard
come on. Who in America hadn't seen it?
Well, it does seem hard to believe that he didn't know. But they're talking about the level of savagery in this. I mean, I don't like boxing, so maybe I'm going over the top here, but the level of, blood splattering all over the place. It's like the gladiators, multiple concussions that people get. That is just
shocking. He'd support something like that, isn't it?
Well, again, I don't know. Is that what you want in the front of the White House for the 4th of July celebration?
What do you mean? Is that what you want? Who is the you in that? Who's the pronoun?
Well, I'm wondering if
Donald Trump?
I'm wondering if anybody thinks that's great.
I assume the 35% who still support Trump, despite arguably the worst almost 2 years in presidential history or thereabouts, probably think it's fabulous because anything he does is anything they love. Zach in Springfield. Hi.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Marjorie.
Hey.
So I think that monuments need to definitely come down. They are just such instances of graft and corruption with innumerable literal examples. The reflecting pool. He, for example, got a pool guy, and I think further reporting has said it's been like it was done at an inflated rate on a no-bid contract.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the next administration that comes in, the next Democratic administration, I think, has to pitch on what I guess I'd frame as a sort of reconstruction of anti-corruption, of rebuilding institutions, and making them like genuinely serviceable, making it so that people feel the impacts of them. And I think taking down these monuments and kind of trying to bring back what there was, be it the Rose Garden or trying to clean
I forgot about
the Rose
that.
Garden.
Thank you for adding
Yes.
that. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Zach.
It is a symbol of that reconstruction. It's a tangible thing that I think the way that the administration is kind of galvanizing its base is perpetually finding every little way to aggrandize Trump and own the libs and try to give us our daily dose of rage here. So if we can create an inverse thing where we build up from the level of government services to these monuments, I think that is a tangible progress. I think that would be ideal for the future Democratic administration.
Another excellent call. Zach, that was great thinking. Thank you. Here's a good one. Benjamin and Brighton. Jim, you won't need to tear it down. The thing is going to be built out of popsicle sticks and Melania movie ticket stubs. A stiff breeze and light rain will do the trick. Thank you, Benjamin.
And our staff has done some research on Dana White. Apparently, he's fought against worker protections. Unlike every other professional sports league, his fighters are classified as contractors, not employees. They cannot unionize, and there have been many efforts to do so. Thank you for that.
Well, they can also claim, I'm not defending White, they can claim they're misclassified and go to court and try to get classified as employees, which is probably what they should do. In any case, Ann, you're on the road. You're next on Boston Public Radio. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Yes, hi, Jim. Hi, Marjorie.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
All the ideas suggested so far are so great.
They are.
I was thinking about deterrence and the fact that Trump wants to spend all this money, especially that arch really gets me. And I think we need every Democrat and people all over the country to vocalize every chance they get that this stuff is all coming down the minute he's out of office, and deter him now from spending this money and just stop it. Just make it clear we all want this to stop, and it's all coming down. Because he builds it, the Republicans are going to say, "Oh, but we spent all that money on this. You can't take it down now." So,
do you think he would? And do you think he would stop? And do you think he'd stop? I don't think. I mean, what he is a builder. He's a bankrupt builder, but he's a builder.
I think the Republicans would have to think twice, knowing that they're going to fund something that the Democrats are going to tear down. So,
and we got
I think we need to deter it.
Another good idea, anonymous. And thank you, anonymous texter. If Trump gets his big arch built, after he's gone, we can cover it with solar and windmills. That's actually a pretty good idea.
Did you read the one from Chris from Billerica?
No.
Chris from Billerica. Painting the reflecting pool is a desecration of the original somber purpose. It isn't supposed to be an effing slip and slide.
It looks like a swimming pool now, rather than what it was intended to be. But I mean, you are so right.
When you look
behind him,
crass.
You see all the gold trim that's painted on stuff, and it's just. It is foul. It is really foul.
I always get it wrong, the people from Spy Magazine.
What?
But one of the people from Spy Magazine, short-fingered vulgarian. They also
That's
refer
pretty
to
good
his small hands.
Some people
vulgarian.
criticize us for our criticism. You know what? This hasn't gotten enough attention. When we read
the Oval Office?
When we read to Maura Healey the other day what he had said about the negotiations, if it's over, it's over. They're very boring, etc. Remember the words she used to describe him? A fool, incompetent, crass. This is the governor of Massachusetts. So, I mean, it's pretty...
No, I think it's important to tell truth to power, Jim.
Believe me, I'm not criticizing.
I think more of us in the media should be more direct.
Well, I think people have gotten past that.
Yeah, that's Margaret Sullivan's big thing.
That is totally true.
We should really call it what it was, a deranged, rambling, incomprehensible speech, and so that people have an idea. It won't make it onto Fox News, of course, and some of the right-wing websites, but at least everybody else can see it.
Okay, where do you want to go?
Let's go to
Nada
from Rentham. Thank
you
for
Nada.
calling.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Excellent.
Good.
I'm sitting here wondering if I'm ever going to have any Social Security when I'm 80 because it's getting used on painting a pool or putting up an arch.
Yeah.
We are $40 trillion in debt. Got it?
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, I don't know what else anybody needs to say. Supposedly he can't touch that, but he uses that to put us more in debt because we have that money set aside. And if we go into bankruptcy, they can pull out all that money. I mean, I don't know.
That's the one thing. You know something?
Wait, what do you mean the money's set aside? None of it's set aside. That's why it's adding to the national debt because we don't have it. We're borrowing it.
Well, that's
I'm sorry.
I think I should have said it better. You're right.
You know, that's the one
But
thing I'm not.
Put it in every year.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm not worried about.
What's that?
I cannot imagine a world in which Americans would sit around and let people take away your Social Security when you are dependent on it to live your life. I just can't ever, especially since it's older
You can't see them in the future?
No.
Wait. No, I'm not saying take it away.
Privatizing, remember the privatizing efforts?
How about cost of living adjustments? Maybe you're halved or that sort of thing.
I don't know. I think when it comes to money, taking away money you think you're going to get, and then you find out you're not going to get it. I mean, people...
no, you're right. For example, they'd never cut your health
Obamacare,
premiums.
I know it.
They'd never cut your Medicaid.
But this is every single person in America who's not loaded. I think that is...
How many people have a parent, even if they're middle class, who's in a nursing home, who's 100% dependent on Medicaid funds to keep them alive and comparatively well?
But everybody in America has Social Security. To me, that's the difference.
Well, listen, I hope you're right, but I think nothing is off limits if it funds his insatiable appetite for... Let me tell you, if they came up with a proposal, I mean this sincerely, for Trump, and Stephen Miller says, hey, Mr. President, sir, you can make another $4 billion next week if you do X with Social Security. You don't think he'd do that in 10 seconds? And then, by the way, you know what he'd say? He'd say people who are saying cut Social Security, they're lying like they do about everything. I didn't cut anything. In fact, I increased it to the highest level it's ever been. I am telling you, it's about self-enrichment and monuments to me. I mean, that is what it is.
That's one thing I don't think he can get away with, but I could be wrong, Jim.
Well, I could be wrong, too. Curtis in Boston, hi.
Hey, Jim and Margie. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I called in recently about ice cream, but got a lot of thoughts on this.
Please.
I absolutely agree with the earlier callers. Would tear everything down that he's ever put his name on or just rip his name off. That's all he cares about. He just wants to keep it up in perpetuity. Contact anyone on any Trump property in the world, the airport, the roads that are all trying to name him Trump this, Trump that, remove it all, get rid of it, score serves. But aside from that, we've got to make sure that we undo all of the horrible stuff he's done. We got to fix the climate policy. We got to fix our economy. We got to fix everything he's done. Then we've got to enact laws so no single person can ever do this kind of shit again.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. And then honestly, what we should do is put memorials up in those places. Wherever Trump is buried, there needs to be a memorial right next to it for the survivors of the Epstein.
You know, can I just
need remembers of all of that.
Curtis, can I just one thing you said, I just want to not amend, but speak to. I've mentioned this in the air a lot of times. I'm going to say it one more time. The woman responsible for the 1619 Project was asked at a thing at Babson that I was there, Nicole Hannah-Jones, how long it will take to reinstate the civil rights protections that Trump has undone. She said 65 to 70 years. Bill McKibben, I would argue the preeminent scholar on an advocate on climate issues, has said similar things. The damage that this guy is doing is not going to be like a light switch in January of 29 where everything just comes back. But having said that, thanks for your call. We really appreciate it. Maybe people should rip down Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue too while they're at it. Just don't stop at the Arch and the UFC and the whatever the hell.
Thank you very much for all your calls and texts. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to talk with political commentator Chuck Todd. He talked about this Tuesday being a good day election-wise for Democrats. We'll talk about that and more with Chuck Todd up next on Marjorie Egan, Houston Browdy. Listen to BPR, GBH, and NEPM is streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, John Carter Cash joins us to open the pages of The Complete Johnny Cash, lyrics from a lifetime of songwriting. It's a rare look at his father's creative world, from the heartbreak to the humor, the hymns to the outlaw ballads that defined American music. A son's tribute to the man in black in his own words and memories. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Cambridge Trust, a division of Eastern Bank, offering business and personal wealth management and private banking services, investing more than $240 million in local communities since 1994. More at cambridgetrust.com. And Burton's Grill and Bar, offering a bar bites menu, steak skewers, bourbon shrimp, bang bang broccoli, and more. Served weekdays from 3 to 6 at Burton's 8 locations in Greater Boston. Menu at burtonsgrill.com.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Back at the library tomorrow, the auditor, Diana DiZoglio, will join us, live music. And on June 23rd, 11 to 12, the Attorney General will join us at the library as well. Here now via Zoom, political analyst Chuck Todd. Chuck's former moderator of NBC's Meet the Press, now host of the show Sunday Night with Chuck Todd on the platform Noosphere, that's N-O-O, Sphere. Host of the Chuck Toddcast, which you can find at thechucktoddcast.com or youtube.com/@thechucktoddcast. And co-host of the new podcast Dynastic. Hello, Chuck Todd.
Well, hello there. Jim, nice to see you guys. Sorry.
I know I forget who I am sometimes.
No, I was gonna do the Mr. Brody. That's where, and I was like, yeah,
forget it. Nice to see you, Chuck.
So
Good to see you guys.
So Chuck, on one of your many podcasts, I heard you say that Tuesday was a good night for Democrats. So tell us about the elections on Tuesday, what they mean.
Iowa. That's why Tuesday was a good night for Democrats, right? We're still learning out of California, but there's no catastrophe for Democrats in California with the top two, no obvious lockouts. You know, there's certain Democrats have their own issues to deal with, but they're kind of contained, right? They're regional problems, they're local problems, your Karen Bass, et cetera. But when you look at the national picture, Iowa was the big story of the night. The biggest thing being the mild upset, and it turns out it was a mild upset in the Republican primary for governor in Iowa. First time we've seen a Trump-endorsed candidate, especially one that was endorsed at the last minute, lose. What was fascinating about it is that it was Maha versus MAGA. The candidate that won the Republican primary was running on the issues of high cancer rates and this or that, and Iowa does have it more than most. Fertilizer runoff is seen as been very pollutant to the water. So what maybe the three of us would have associated normally with issues that you sometimes see on the left, this is the Maha world, right? And it got real traction in Iowa in the conservative in the more conservative wing, frankly, of that. But there's also a little Steve King. You know, there's a lot of little other politics going on here in Iowa, right? The gentleman Randy Feenstra who Trump endorsed. Trump was talked into endorsing this guy because guess who Feenstra endorsed in the presidential caucuses in 2024? Ron DeSantis.
Oh.
This is also the Republican that Pat Ryan and Kevin McCarthy recruited back in the day to eradicate. Remember that guy, Steve King?
Oh, yes.
Well, Steve King got a little revenge on Feenstra. He endorsed this Zach Lane, and the place where the sitting congressman had the hardest time was his own congressional district. Basically, it was something like almost every county that Steve King carried against him back during that primary went against the congressman this time, and that's why it happened. I'm painting this picture because the Democrats had a potentially messy primary in their Senate primary, and there was a progressive versus sort of somebody in that certainly the Democratic gubernatorial candidate preferred, a Paralympian named Josh Turek. So the Democrats didn't get their divisive primary. Republicans did. So the entire Democratic ticket, the state of Iowa has 3 competitive House seats, which is literally there's only about 20 total in the country. And 3 of the 20 are in the state of Iowa. That very competitive governor's race that the Democrats are now favored in, and a toss-up Senate race. The blue wave, if one exists, will be measured in the state of Iowa. It either happens, there's a blue wave, and Iowa happens, and if Iowa doesn't happen, there's no wave. But Democrats are set up in perhaps the best possible position they could have asked for in the state of Iowa going into November.
Well, let's go from Iowa to Maine. You wrote a piece when
Mr.
character
Plattner
becomes a speed bump. I don't want to talk about Paxton today.
Yeah.
He was one of your 2 subjects. Plattner, how damaging was the revelation about his sexting?
Well, it seems what it's done is that it's added to this, because he had already reassured some of his supporters in D.C. that there was no more stuff.
Right.
And then more stuff, right? So,
well, he also told
the New York Times
Lulu
interviewer,
Garcia Navarro,
yes.
Navarro Garcia at the New York Times that we were done too.
And this is about a week ago.
Yeah,
right. And so you got Elizabeth Warren getting cold feet. Clearly, look, I look at the situation. We're going to know for sure on Tuesday, right? There is an opportunity, and I basically did what normally would be a Nate Silver-like Substack analysis to try to understand what percentage for Janet Mills would indicate that Graham Plattner has a huge problem inside the Democratic Party. Because Janet Mills, the sitting governor, is still on the ballot, a fact that she herself reminded the press last week of. And I think if you see her, I did some calculations based on other sort of zombie candidates that stayed on ballots that had high name ID. The Nikki Haley, looking at the Nikki Haley, after she dropped out, her name was on ballots and she got a consistent sort of 15 to 25%. I think if you see Janet Mills in the 20s on Tuesday night, and if it's 25 or greater, it's a 5-alarm fire. And that, to me, is what I'm watching for. And I think that if Maine Democrats express concern about Plattner by using the Janet Mills ballot line as a protest vehicle, that'll rattle national Democrats. And, Maine is one of the easiest states in the union to swap candidates out after the primary. Yeah. Now, there's a hard deadline. It's in July, but it's not hard. And I think so what I would say is Graham Plattner he needs more than 80% of that primary vote. And he's certainly on Tuesday in order, I think, to calm the waters a little bit.
Well, let me just say one thing. You mentioned Warren. We had the governor on the other day who has endorsed Janet Mills. And we asked her if Plattner was the nominee, would she support him? And to say she was unequivocal. She said, I'm disgusted by some of his behavior, but unequivocal, saying absolutely, because like so many others are saying, getting rid of Trump and his power is the key thing. Can we move to a topic that we've discussed with you before?
I think it's important to point out, though, we talked about this with our listeners, and I was stunned by how many women texted and said, I am a dyed-in-the-wool feminist. This guy's a jerk. But we got to get rid of Susan Collins. And Susan Collins helped us get Brett Kavanaugh, and Brett Kavanaugh took away women's bodily autonomy.
It's a slippery slope.
So I think that was one of the things there.
What do you mean?
I get it. I just think this is a slippery slope. When I'm hearing the same rationalizations we heard on the right in 2016. Forget Paxton. I'm talking about
Trump. Yeah.
Okay. Remember all the people that were disgusted by Trump and thought this was terrible, and then he became the nominee, and we watched them all twist themselves into pretzels, rationalizing it. Well, but Hillary Clinton this and but Hillary Clinton that. I just don't see how this ends well.
Well, can I just, I don't want to spend a lot more time on this. But there's one, I think, important difference, Chuck Todd, is Plattner has apologized for some of his transgressions. Donald Trump doubles down on his transgressions.
And by the way, one other thing here on Plattner. It's not, if he's, the question really is he up to the job? This is not about whether you should elect him over Susan Collins. It's about, is he up to the job? And he strikes me as somebody that still has some issues to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's very, I have a lot of empathy with that. But get your issues solved and then go into public service. Don't try to use a campaign and politics as part of your therapy. And that's something that is becoming all too common in American politics these days. And I think it's adding to this. I think it's just adding to this problem of watching political parties end up twisting themselves into knots to support people that if the political parties had actual power, they would have encouraged not to seek office.
So, Chuck Todd, as I said, we've discussed this topic with you before, but my head is ready to pop off. Here is Trump directing comments yesterday in the Oval Office to CNN's Caitlin Collins. Here it is.
CNN's a very corrupt organization. But with a corrupt reporter standing right there, never smiles. You never see a young beautiful woman, never smiles. I never see a smile off her face. I see her standing there with hatred in her eyes, like she has hatred because we have borders, because we have a strong military, because we cut our taxes, because we do things that everybody wanted.
Okay, so enough of him. The other reporters stood there like potted plants. Marjorie and I have disagreements about this. This comes 2 days after Scott Pelley gets fired. And I said that same day, Leslie Stahl, everybody else there should quit. All the producers should quit, create a new 60 Minutes somewhere else. And before you give us your 2 cents, can you relate for people who missed it? I referenced a few months ago with you an effort that happened when Trump did something to Fox News, and lo and behold, it turned out you led the effort when you were at
Against
NBC.
Obama. Right,
against Obama. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What happened then? And then give us current events. What should reporters be doing around all these verbal assaults on particularly women reporters?
Well, I mean, what should be happening is that the news organizations band together and basically tell the White House that they're going to boycott using any of their stuff unless they, in the case of the Obama folks was doing this pooled thing and they were going to exclude Fox. And well, we all had Fox is part of the pool. And, it was a Three Musketeers thing, all for one for all, but that's part of the contract, part of the agreement. And so, we essentially said, no, we're not going to do this if you exclude members of members of this journalistic pool. And the Obama White House relented, right? And did it. And frankly, I think that was the right thing to do on all sides of this. Look, there is an incredible weakness of the news organizations that have representatives in that press pool, right? Look at the CNN situation at the moment, right? CNN's management has to stay muted, right? They're in the middle of this merger between Warner Brothers and Paramount. Whether they should stay muted, I don't think they should, but sort of they everybody's looking out for their own job there, right? And they're going to get purged out. I kind of think any of them that think that they're somehow going to keep their jobs once the Ellisons and Barry Weiss fully take over at CNN, they're fooling themselves. So I kind of think they ought to read the writing on the wall and stand up for some journalistic principle and stiffen their spine and push back and do these things and defend their reporter in Caitlin Collins. But, that's, the Trump White House has peppered the presidential press pool with a lot of what I would call, false, basically,
sycophants?
Sycophant plants, right?
Yeah.
So it is much harder, during the Obama years, the press corps you could organize them as one because everybody in that room were journalists first. They weren't partisan hacks. The problem in the White House press pool at the moment, the press corps, not the pool itself, but the corps, although the pool's been polluted a bit too, is that there are a lot of sort of what you would call Trump-approved media that have in the mix. So then it looks like, well, so you have this, and I understand some people go, how come other reporters don't stick up? Well, they're not really, some of them are not really, reporters, or they certainly don't.
Well, wait,
they're just there to curry
let's
favor
talk about
with the White House.
Real reporters. By the way, I don't totally agree with you. I don't agree with you about how CNN's position v.
And
Collins.
I'll tell you what the problem is.
I think they have defended her. Let's assume you were in the Oval Office yesterday. In your old young, I'm serious, when you were a young guy doing what you did, and Trump said what he said to Collins, you just sit there and wait for your question to be asked?
I wouldn't have sat there at all. No.
Exactly.
I'd have butted in and I'd have said, excuse me, Mr. President.
Yeah,
because they've been cowed. And look, I sit here and it's easy for me to
of course,
we're sitting back here.
I know.
And I will acknowledge that. But you got to remember, they've been conditioned now. They've got corporate parents who are petrified of their own skin. They've seen people like myself, people like Scott Pelley, people who have basically watched as these corporate parents have been afraid of anybody who has spoken up. And so they have bills to pay, right? And I'm not going to sit here and, everybody's got their own financial situation. I'm not going to tell somebody, hey, you should be risking your job to do this. I mean, this is why, kudos to Scott Pelley for being the guy to take the arrows, right? Because he could afford to do it. There's a bunch of people at 60 Minutes maybe couldn't afford to do it. To fill in a little more detail, the situation I was in with the whole Ronna Romney situation back at NBC was a similar situation. There were a lot of people that wanted to speak up, but they had a lot more to lose than I did. So I knew I could go in there, and if they were gonna chop my head off, I was gonna be okay, right? I could be the sacrificial lamb there, and I think Scott Pelley, in this sense, could be the sacrificial lamb, right? He is in a place personally where he could be that, and I think that was the intent of what he did. So, but I don't know 100%. I'm just telling you my experience was I was giving voice to a lot of people who weren't in positions to do this, right? And had a lot more to lose. And I was in a better position and to do this. So I think that's some of it, and I think that, look, I'll be honest. I think corporate owned, publicly traded companies, anybody with business before the government, at this point has abdicated their ability to even oversee a news division. The fact that Paramount is doing what they're doing, and Barry Weiss is clearly, and here's the thing, like
30
in
seconds,
theory,
by the way. Go ahead.
Okay, I know, I'm sorry.
No,
In
no,
theory,
no.
Barry Weiss and Nick Bilton are right that, hey, 60 Minutes has got to modernize and you've got to be in all these places, right? Well, guess what? That's not new. Everybody knows this. But the fact of the matter is, this is symbolic because the President of the United States, and if you're the Ellisons, the only way this merger gets approved is if Trump allows it to be approved. So you've got to do the bidding for Trump. And they know if you don't, he'll flip on you. And that's the problem with this entire story. This is about a regulatory approval with the government, and they're messing with journalism in order to get it.
Amen.
Chuck, thank you very much.
Chuck, great to see you.
All right, guys.
And thank you for all your great work. We were speaking with political analyst Chuck Todd, former moderator of NBC's Meet the Press, now host of Sunday Night with Chuck Todd on Newsphere, and co-host of the new podcast, Dynastic. You can catch all Chuck's stuff, youtube.com @the Chuck Toddcast. After a quick break, we'll speak with Sarah Voiland of Red Fire Farm and Kay Masterson of Johnny's Luncheonette. This is BPR, GBH, NEPM, Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
When we look back at the American Revolution, we're not just looking at history. Each story reveals how a young democracy struggled with questions that still echo today. When we look at our past, we uncover what remains fragile now. Discover our series From Colony to Commonwealth at gbh.org/America250.
Support for GBH comes from you. And Gloucester Stage, presenting Bad Books by Sharon Rothstein. Excitement erupts in a small town when a civil dispute becomes a raucous debate in the quietest of places, the library. Now through June 27th. GloucesterStage.com. And Direct Federal Credit Union, a Needham-based financial institution providing loans, saving solutions, and financial wellness resources for members across every stage of life. Learn more by visiting direct.com. Direct Federal, member NCUA.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Back at the library tomorrow, the auditor, Diana DiZoglio, will join us to talk about the latest on question 1 that 72% of you voted for a couple of years ago to audit the legislature. There's live music. And on June 23rd, 11 to noon at the library, the Attorney General will join us to answer your questions and ours. Join us now to talk about localizing our food system, ways to help small farmers in an affordability crisis. Sarah Voiland, owner of Red Fire Farm in Granby and Montague. We spoke with her and her husband Ryan when we were broadcasting out of NPM last year. You go to redfirefarm.com. Sarah, good to see you again.
Hi.
And joining Sarah with us in Studio 3 is Kay Masterson, owner of Johnny's Luncheonette in Newton. That's johnnysluncheonette.com. Most famous not only for fabulous food, but arguably the single greatest video that Margie and I ever made together in the restaurant many, many years ago.
A long time.
Kay, it's great to have you too. Great to see you. Thanks so much.
So let's start just by telling people who you are. Let's start with Voiland Farm up there.
Red Fire Farm.
Red Fire Farm. Let's start with that.
Well, we grow all kinds of organic
produce all year round for our local community through our CSA shares, farmers markets, a farm stand, and some local wholesale to places like Johnny's. And
you actually sell to Johnny's?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, we did. I didn't know that. That's great. Okay, but keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, so right now we are about to get into strawberry season, and we have pick your own strawberries at our farm in Granby.
Just had one. Unbelievable.
And then our CSA farm shares for summer start next week. So we're taking signups right now for fresh food every week.
And by the way, you brought some of this beautiful stuff I've ever seen. We'll get cameras on it in a couple of seconds.
Can we get cameras on it?
Kay,
we're not at the library.
Yeah, we can, well, we'll see. And if not, we'll hold it up. Kay, I assume most people know Johnny's Luncheonette, but for the three who don't, tell us about it.
Yes, Johnny's Luncheonette is an iconic diner in Newton Center. It's been around for over 30 years. We bought it in 2014 to carry on sort of that important position that it places in the community. We invite everybody. Everybody's welcome. We also bought Cabot's ice cream 3 years ago, so we're really committed to keeping these places that are so important to the community, keep them going.
And you failed to say best corned beef hash in America, by the way, which is fairly important to some of us.
The food is great at Johnny's. But one of my favorite things is all the pictures of the kids and their little, from so many classes in Newton. They look like they're all in about 8th grade or maybe high school or something. You've got dozens of those. Yeah. It's so great.
What's really fun is with the rate of change that's happening now, people just feel such a sense of relief to walk into a place that's been around for a long time, that just gives them the sense of, oh, maybe the world isn't completely crazy, because we get people coming back who haven't been there in years, and they're just thrilled that we're still there.
I didn't know your Red Fire Farm connection, which is great, but you're a big local sourcing kind of person. Why does that matter to you, and doesn't it cost you more than if you went traditional routes?
It costs more. We do what we can. We're very sensitive to economic diversity, and we need to keep that in mind when we price our menu. We can't do as much as I want to do, or certainly as much as I do in my private life, but throughout the year we do try and support local farms like Red Fire. Definitely this summer we'll be buying from them. It's something that to me is just, if everybody does something, if everybody adds a little bit more to what they're doing to support our regional agriculture, we can have really thriving farms. But when we all just slough it off and go, oh, I can't, I won't, it's too expensive, it's too inconvenient, it won't get done.
How hard is we haven't seen you since the war and all this kind of stuff. How hard is being a farmer in Massachusetts in 2026, particularly in the wake of obviously what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz? How hard is your job right now?
Well, I often think, one of the things that's really awesome about farming, but also sometimes terrifying, is that we are very connected with a lot of different systems. So like right now we are driving lots of tractors in the field to do all the farm work. They run on diesel, and diesel prices are up over 40% since last year. And so we're like listening to NPR, being like, what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz? Why are we at war with Iran? Because it actually matters in Massachusetts on our farm. And, that's just one of the cost situations that we're dealing with across the board.
Do people get this? I mean, I think when I met you and your husband in Western Mass, I think I told you the story, and whether I did or not, I'm going to tell it again. I went to Farm Aid, Willie Nelson's Farm Aid, and a good friend of ours used to run it for 30 years, and it helps small farmers around the country. And Neil Young stood up and gave this expletive-laced speech to people, basically admonishing them, if you don't go to a farm stand or do a CSA, you should be ashamed of yourself. It was much more intense than this kind of thing. Does the average person get that, or are they saying, in this tough economy, I got to go where the price is best, regardless of where it's coming from?
Well, I think a lot of people have gotten disconnected from the food system since, more big ag came in, and supermarkets became more of our source of food for many years, so that there's not as much knowledge for how to use local food. So that's one of the things that we try to do in our CSA. We find in times when the economy is a little bit worse, we actually sometimes get more CSA members because people are wanting to spend more time at home, cook their own meals. And, we're seeing pretty good sales right now for the CSA.
Explain what it is for people that don't know what a CSA is.
It's community-supported agriculture. So folks are getting a weekly harvest from the farm. We harvest directly for you.
Whoops.
So we're planning out, we've got to pick up in Newton, and we're going to pick on Wednesday for the delivery on Thursday. So it's coming right away to the people who are ordering. And, it's seasonal food. So what we have right now, it's going to be, different kinds of greens,
Hand me the
lettuces, early
strawberries while you're
carrots.
talking. I'm going to hold them up, too.
Strawberries,
They're as pretty
pick
as
your
I
own
ever
as
saw
part
in
of
my
it. So
life.
you can come out to the farm, and it's a really awesome bonus.
Oh, you see those. Great.
Of fruit that you can pick, like blueberries, strawberries, peas, cherry tomatoes, and all that. So you'll be able to come out and pick during the season at the farm. But we harvest directly for you every week and bring it out to spots like
it's pretty neat.
Cambridge.
It's a pretty neat thing.
Do your customers care? I mean, do they? I assume you talk. One of the things I love about Johnny is everybody talks to everybody. Ordinarily, I don't like that, but everybody's talking to everybody all the time. Do your customers know, and do they care?
I think the challenge we've got is people talk about it, but do their actions follow up on that? If you ask the general public, they would say, "Oh yeah, I support local food. I love the idea of like local farms." But the challenge to all of us is really how much are we individually doing, or how much is a restaurant doing that they might be able to add in. So I would offer this up as we head into the growing season is, really take a look at what resources do you have? Do you have time? Do you have money? Do you have a community that you could share a CSA with if you're a single person? Are you somebody that, is challenged with, raising kids? Can you work with another family and everybody make a big meal on Sunday and share it? Like, it's a lack of imagination and will. We can do this. We can all do a little bit more. And we need, Red Fire needs to rebuild a barn. We should be able to do that in Massachusetts. We've got the resources. We need the will and the imagination to do it.
Well, one of the things Margie and I were talking about this morning is we read a Globe story. We're not very supportive of the Massachusetts legislature, so we're not going to have this trickle down to you.
This really was terrible.
This thing about a tax credit, if you guys donate to pantries and food banks, has been pending for 5 years.
Yeah.
4 years. When we met you, some grants from the federal government had been frozen. Right about that time, Trump took $1 billion out of these programs where local farmers were providing food to schools. So governments are not being as helpful as they could be if they actually cared about this, are they?
Yeah, that's true. We've definitely been directly affected by changes at the federal level for funding for those grants. That still's not, that was for rebuilding after the fire that we had at our barn, and we still haven't gotten that grant because of the feds. And then also, we regularly supply to food banks for food relief, for donations, but then they also buy from us. And some of the programs that they cut directly affected our farm because they aren't able to buy as much from local farms.
So what are your options for getting the new barn? I mean, Kay just mentioned you gotta get it.
Yeah, we got to get it. We got to get that barn. That's like our main sales venue for local food at our own food at our farm, and it's gone right now. We've been working out of sheds and making it happen, but in order to be really viable, we need to get that barn built. And right now we have had awesome help from over 400 people getting to $125,000 for the fundraising, and it's got 75,000 more to go, so we could use help now to get that built at our website.
Redfirefarm.com.
Yeah, yep.
I was going to ask you too about something that you do, which I think is great: renewable containers for takeout food. Tell us about those, Kay.
So we started working with them a couple of years ago. One of the frustrating things about a restaurant is that people talk about takeout containers, and you're nibbling around the edges to talk about, is it compostable? What is it made of? The reality is we've asked restaurants to step up and pay more for the virtue signaling compostable containers, and they will end up in the big belly trash containers down the street. So they're not being used the way that people think they are. And so the idea is reusable takeout containers. We work with Recirclable. It's a great idea, especially for people who have regular like they might get a lunch several times a week from a place. So it's super simple. You sign up. There's no cost to the customer. The restaurant absorbs a small charge, just like they would for a takeout container, and then you just return them to any of the participating restaurants. They get washed in the back and reused.
So you get the food in the container, and then next time you go to the restaurant, you bring it back with you.
Or any participating restaurant you can just return them anywhere.
And how do you find out about that?
Pardon me?
How do you find out about that?
Go to the Recirclable website.
So speaking of websites and registries, if anybody listening, Marjorie, anybody listening says, I want to patronize restaurants that do local sourcing, that buy from local farms, is there a way to find out without having to spend an hour Googling around? Is there and you look like the answer is no. And if the answer is no, why isn't it? Why don't you all get together? I mean, you know why I'm thinking of this? Right down the street from you used to be a sponsor of ours from commercial radio, Century Bank. And the reason we love Century Bank is because it was owned by a family on the Sloan family, some from Marshall to his kids to some of the most wonderful people. And so many of our listeners, when they heard our commercials, went there, not because I said to, but because it was family owned. Same deal with local sourcing, I think, if people knew. So how do they know?
So here's one of the challenges. First of all, it's really, really hard, especially at a price point that Johnny's is trying to do it at. But I always want to underpromise and overdeliver. So I'll give you an example. I'll be picking up some salad mix and head lettuce from a farm tomorrow, and I'll be doing it again the following week. We might run out between that time and then have to bring in like a regular source.
Well, why don't you just tell the truth like you're doing now? We're doing as much local sourcing as we can possibly do. We can't promise you it's everything.
Right.
But it's a lot of what we do. I mean...
We try, and I would just encourage every restaurant's going to have something that they can do and other things that they just go, they can't. So I think it's a great idea, Jim, and there's nobody doing it right now.
Why don't you do it? Thank you.
Listen to this, Kay. Kevin in Brookline just texted. Just last night, we brought my little 8-year-old Maggie to Cabot Ice Cream in Newton after a dance recital. It's her favorite daddy-daughter place, and we even let Mommy come for the first time, delighted in the fact that it's the same people place. It's been for decades, and for me and my family and the whole community. So there you go.
Fabulous.
Well, and that's what I think people, especially during the pandemic, didn't understand how valuable it is to have community places where people gather. They're known. They're talking to the server. We don't know the life anybody's living, and some people are living very isolated experiences. And we never closed our doors during the pandemic. We always let people come in. I probably shouldn't say that. Because the ability to talk to someone was really important. And I see, my success feels greater when I see people who are by themselves coming in and dining at either one of our restaurants, because that makes me know they really feel like it's their place.
That's fabulous. That really is great. How's business, by the way, despite all the travails that you and your husband are dealing with?
Well, it's definitely a balancing act with all of the different rising costs to try to keep everything going and figure it out on the fly as things change. But we are looking forward to a good growing season so far. It was a little cool, but things are really starting to kick in now. So that's good.
I'm going to embarrass myself when I hold this up and say, what is this gorgeous thing? What is this thing?
That's Russian frills kale, and it's really
gorgeous?
tender,
Beautiful.
So it's really awesome in like a...
Russian frills kale?
Yeah, if you want to do a kale salad, or it's a quick for sauteing.
And look at these damn
I was thinking
asparagus. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Purple passion.
Purple passion.
And I've got all these zucchinis over here. See him over
That's
here.
what you think, my friend. So you weren't around then. Do you know when I'm introduced to you? Do you know what Marjorie and I did when we were working at NECN? We came into the restaurant with your predecessors, and I went around to all the tables and with a camera, and Marjorie was with me, asking people if they knew who I was. How many people knew who I was?
Nobody.
Nobody in the whole restaurant knew who I was. And what else did I do?
You took food off their plates and
While I was
ate
talking
it.
to them. And not one
They'd be
person
having
complained.
an omelet. He sticks his hands right in the middle of the omelet.
No, I did
Yes,
not.
you did.
French
It was
fries
disgusting.
and things like that.
French fries, bacon. It was really very bad. Luckily, he wasn't arrested.
It's one of the most fun times. And we did a little time behind the counter. We did a little serving. So anytime you want us back, you know our number. By the way, Johnny's one of my favorite places, and you guys do spectacular work out there in Western Mass. So we hope both places are patronized. You want to say one more thing?
Yeah,
say it.
we are doing a little promotion between the farm and
do it.
Johnny's. So for this is a sneak peek because we're launching it in a couple of days. Anybody that signs up for a CSA with Red Fire Farm, and there are plenty of convenient locations, so go to the website and find out where you could sign up, and I'll buy you lunch at Johnny's. So just come in and show that you've signed up for the CSA starting today for the next 2 weeks, and There
That's
will and there
fabulous.
will be a free lunch for you.
I love that. That's great.
Thank you very much.
That is
both of
really
you,
great. It's great to
for
see you
coming
both.
in. Thank you
Say
for
hi
this
to your husband,
gorgeous
too,
food
by the
Thank
way.
you. From Red Fire Farm. By the way, to help with the barn, redfirefarm.com.
And CSAs and everything else.
And CSAs, everything else. Sarah Voiland, owner of Red Fire Farm in Weston, Mass. RedFireFarm.com. Kay Masterson, owner of Johnny's Luncheonette in Newton and Cabot. Ice cream, also in Newton. Johnny'sLuncheonette.com is the number there. We say goodbye to those who are listening on NEPM. We're going to keep going here in Boston. Boston Globe film critic Odie Henderson is going to come up right after this, talk about the best and worst Steven Spielberg movies, and this new movie about talking sheep detectives. I'm Marjorie Egan, Houston Brady. This is BPR, GBH, and NEPM, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
If you're a GBH sustainer and you received a new bank or credit card in the mail recently, there's an easy way to update your information. Just visit gbh.org/update and keep your membership up to date. That's gbh.org/update.
Funding for our programs comes from you and the Office of the Massachusetts State Treasurer. The Unclaimed Property Division is holding unclaimed funds. New properties are added often. To see if you have unclaimed money, you can visit findmassmoney.gov. And Mass General Brigham. In heart surgery, expertise matters. Mass General Brigham Heart and Vascular Institute performs thousands of surgeries each year and is committed to research and innovation. massgeneralbrigham.org/heart.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston, winner of 4 regional Edward R. Murrow Awards. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH, what matters to you?
Welcome to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio. Jim Brady and Marjorie Egan. We are streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Going to be back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow. We're going to have our press panel, and we're also going to have live music. And we are also going to be joined by Auditor Diana DiZaglio, who is trying to audit the legislature. She is trying and trying and trying. And on June 23rd, 11 till noon, also at the Boston Public Library, we're going to be joined by the Attorney General of the Commonwealth, Andrea Joy Campbell, taking our questions and yours. Hello again, Jim.
Hello again, Marjorie. Joined now on Zoom by Boston Globe film critic Odie Henderson. Odie's the author of Black Caesars and Foxy Cleopatras, a history of blaxploitation cinema. But most relevant to today's discussion, we did some research. He's the only person on the planet who hated E.T. It's good to see you, Odie. How are you?
It's good to see you too. And I did not hate E.T. Well, I hated it when I was 12.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I mean, that's
Okay.
so it's technically accurate.
Well,
I read what
yes.
you write, and it's true.
Well,
good to
wait,
see you,
well,
Odie.
we're going to get to the rating of the Steven Spielberg movies in just a second. But why aren't you? This is a headline of your column. Why aren't summer blockbuster movies as fun anymore? So what's going on?
Well, speaking of Spielberg, he started this with Jaws.
Sure.
And I remember when in the summertime, I would look forward to seeing these movies, as a kid, as a teenager, and even into adulthood. Even if you thought it was just sequels and what have you, there seemed to be some enthusiasm about it, positive enthusiasm. And now it's been replaced by people complaining that the trailer is wrong, or that the Matt Damon has an American accent, he's sort of playing a Greek person, or or Lupita Nyong'o was Helen of Troy, and Helen of Troy was apparently closer to Marilyn Monroe than Lupita Nyong'o. And there's just no positive. Like, people aren't looking forward to movies.
Oh.
They're looking forward to ripping them apart before they come out. And they blame us. We're the critics. We're supposed to be the grumpy ones who are constantly shaking our fingers at you and saying, how dare you enjoy something. But it turns out that it's not us. It's social media.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Why is social media at fault?
Because look, so let's take the Lupita Nyong'o example, or whenever they cast someone that does not fit a white ideal of a character, you're going to get oodles and oodles of angry, people, and some of them could be bots, and some of them could also be the fact the algorithm throws these things at you. But there never seems to be, even in Variety and other places, there's no anybody coming on to say, well, the Odyssey's coming out and it's a big deal and it's going to be, Nolan's post-Oscar movie. Instead, the articles are, oh God, Lupita Nyong'o was Helen of Troy, or Matt Damon sounds like, he's in The Departed.
But isn't part of it too, do people in 2026 see a movie theater, an air-conditioned movie theater, even on a hot summer day, look at it in the same way? Forget what's on the screen. Do they see that experience in the same way they saw it 5 years ago, 10 years ago? They don't, do they, Odie?
Well, they do, but not for something like Masters of the Universe. If you notice, movies like Obsession and Backrooms, which just came out on a Friday, are breaking records. People are coming to the movies, but they're coming to see more original items. So my complaining about the summer blockbuster thing has nothing to do with something like Obsession or Backrooms, which are these smaller films that are coming out and are shocking the market by being, knocking the Baby Yoda out of, off the chart.
Yeah. One thing, though, I think still goes on. I mean, a lot of people thought The Devil Wears Prada was not very good.
Part two, you mean?
Yeah,
the first
part
one,
two.
you mean, or the second one?
The second one. So you read the reviews, wasn't very good. But a lot of my girlfriends, they knew it wasn't going to be very good. They kind of went anyway. They thought it was fun. It was kind of, let's go out and look at Meryl Streep and look at the outfits and all that. So there's nothing wrong with that either. I went to Wuthering Heights. That was awful. Or
Wuthering Heights is awful.
It is awful.
I have to ask you, though, when you went to the Devil Wears Prada,
I didn't
which
go.
I gave a good review. Oh,
I didn't go. No, friends of mine did.
When they went and I gave it a positive review, did they buy the purse?
That is a very good question. I will have to ask. I don't know. I just know that these friends of mine said they had a good time. It was fun. 3 or 4 of them went together, and that's fun.
You know what I mean by the purse, right? The popcorn purse. That's what I'm talking about.
Explain that to people. I read about it.
I don't know about it.
So the Devil, they have these new popcorn buckets like Baby Yoda. You can put popcorn in them, or you can put Pepsi in them. Michael Jackson soda cup, which is probably not a good idea. They have a purse for the Devil Wears Prada too, and I saw someone in the bar carrying this purse.
Okay.
And you put popcorn in it, and it's like $40 just for the purse, not for the popcorn.
I don't know. I'll have to ask. I didn't even know about that. Thank you, Odie.
We're talking to the Globe's film critic, Odie Henderson. So you rated, because the new Spielberg movie, Disclosure Day, is it coming out today? Is it today or?
It's for next Friday.
Next Friday,
it's the 12th.
It's coming out. Odie decided to rate all of the Spielberg movies. And while some are hard to disagree with, for example, Raiders of the Lost Ark is 1, Jaws is 2, I am
Color
incredulous.
Purple is 3. That was great. And Schindler's List is 4. Those are all great movies.
They're all great movies. Saving Private Ryan, which has some of the most incredible scenes I've ever seen, is number 20. E.T., and I have to correct, he only hated it when he was a kid, but he, quote, came to begrudgingly respect it as an adult. Just to get you in the mood, here's a little bit of E.T., 1982, the sci-fi classic. Here it is.
E.T. Home phone.
E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home. He wants to call somebody.
I'm weeping as I'm listening to that.
Oh, my God, yeah.
How hard was this process of rating all of the Spielberg films, and how sure yourself were you when you finished, Odie Henderson?
I rewatched 7 Spielberg movies over the weekend, and they were the movies that I didn't like. So the movies that were in the top 10, they pretty much all were in order that I thought. Raiders of the Lost Ark was going to be number 1. I've been saying it for years. That's not a surprise. But I also had a mathematical thing about movies that I had put on my top 10 list when I was reviewing, or movies that I given 4 stars to. I watched 7 movies that I didn't like of Spielberg's to see who I could rate them toward the bottom. That's what I did this week, and I'm very sure. As far as E.T. goes, one of the first pieces I wrote when I got here, it was before I got here. I was a freelancer still at the Globe. I wrote about how E.T., for the 40th anniversary, I revisited it as an adult, and as someone who loves movies more and can understand cinematography and so on. It's a very well-crafted movie. But I still feel the same way about E.T. I felt when I was 12. He's boring. What does he do? Literally, what does he do? They left him on his own family dropped him on Earth and left his behind there. It was a reason they did. He's boring.
So when
So
you
I
watch
stand by that.
Wait
So
a minute.
when you watch
he
this-
hides in the closet with all that stuff around him, and you see his little face there.
That's cute.
Yeah, I thought that was very cute. And
I
when
don't think he means cute in a positive way.
No,
So,
I mean that scene is actually cute.
It was,
but and Drew Barrymore was fun, and the whole iconic sequence of him flying across the moon. That's the Amblin logo.
Yeah, I love
mentioned
that.
all this stuff, and then Alan Davio's cinematography is great. But 2 weeks after E.T. came out, it came out June 11th, 1982. The Thing came out. Now you're a 12-year-old boy. What are you more interested in?
Yeah, The Thing.
okay, so Odie Henderson, you watched 7 Spielberg
How
films.
long did that take?
7 Spielberg films this weekend, and you selected ones you didn't like. Is there any that you dramatically changed your opinion about after your watch-a-thon this weekend?
Hook got lower. And here's the funny thing. I thought the boomers would attack me for Saving Private Ryan, which was originally number 21, and I put it as number 20. I switched 2 things, but I was shocked that the millennials, they're still ripping me a new one about Hook. Apparently, how you feel about E.T. is how millennials feel about Hook. I had no idea.
And your number 5 was The Fablemans, which I haven't seen, but that's kind of his autobiographical story of growing up. So you really like that.
I reviewed it at the Globe. I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it, and it's his confession. And it's very interesting when, directors always confess the freaky things they're into in their movies. But this felt like his All That Jazz, his 8.5.
Okay.
He's kind of admitting this is why I love making movies and, about his family and so on. And I loved it. I mean, I was surprised that it was number 5. I thought it'd be like number 7 or 8, but it wound up being number 5 for me.
Well, I got to go back. Have you watched that? I haven't seen it. I'm
I
going to
haven't seen it
I'm going to
yet
go back
either.
and watch that one too.
So, Odie, we were going to talk, we were going to talk about some of the things you've reviewed recently. We still may, Mandalorian and Grogu, is that how you pronounce it?
The Sheep Detectives.
The Sheep Detectives.
I want to
and
see that.
Masters, but before we get to any of those, so far, is there anything you've seen that you've totally loved? And is there anything on the immediate horizon before summer's over that you're awaiting with spectacular anticipation?
Last 2 summers ago, I said I didn't care. Like the summer movies, I had there was nothing that jumped out at me. And this year, it's kind of the same way. I'll see the Odyssey as a formality.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be the Nolan apologist. I don't know what happened, but now I become the opposite of that. But I don't really have much. And the things that, like The Furious, which I liked, I'd already seen. So I'm trying to rack my brain as something in the summertime that I would love to see, and I don't. I love the Minions, so shame on me but I'm not like if I don't see it, I'm not gonna die.
So you're not looking forward to the Odyssey? You don't think it's going to be a good?
Well, it'll be, as far as spectacle goes, I'm hoping that it'll at least be spectacular, and that Nolan will have finally figured out how to mix sound.
Okay, so you used the word cute before. Marvy and I have only seen the trailer for The Sheep Detective.
Oh, my gosh.
And we both thought it was wicked cute. Here is Hugh Jackman playing a shepherd who reads detective novels to his sheep every night. But when a mysterious incident happens on the farm, the sheep realize they must become the detectives. Here he is.
If there's one secret to happiness in my life, it's taking care of the kindest creatures on earth. Sheep. I want you to meet my flock.
We found George on the grass, and he's not moving.
What?
Lily, tell us what to do. Our shepherd was murdered. And we shall solve the crime.
That was a sheep, by the way. The second half of that after Hugh Jackman was a sheep. So
Played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Don't forget that.
Oh, I did forget that. I didn't know that. That's fabulous.
yeah.
So what do you think of The Sheep Detectives?
Well, here's the funny thing. We don't review movies at the Globe after they come out. That's kind of the rule, and it makes sense. We're a newspaper, so it's almost like the time has passed.
Yeah.
And people kept talking. I wanted to see the movie. I happened to be in Boston at IFF Boston, so I couldn't go to the screenings. And people just kept talking about it. People kept coming up and asking me had I seen it. So I went to my editor and I said, maybe we should watch this. And I thought the trailer looked ridiculous, but I love Babe.
Yes.
And so I can
I love Babe. Oh my God.
I can be sold on almost anything. I'm easy. So I went to see it, and it was like at 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and the theater was packed, and I was shocked. And I loved it. I loved it. I won't lie. I loved it. I enjoyed it very, very
Oh,
much. It's
good.
a lot of fun. It's like Babe, and that it's not, and like The Wild Robot more recently, it's not afraid to talk about death. And Alyssa at the New York Times, she had done a piece on how the PG-rated movies kind of died. And this is like a perfect PG-rated movie. It's tame enough for kids, but it has things adults will enjoy, it has adult material that kids can kind of learn from about what memory is and what death is. And it's really, I think it's extremely well done. The voice talent is great. It's a lot of fun. He-Man, Nicholas Glitzing is in this movie as well. And Emma Thompson it's just a lot of fun. I mean, you walk out of the theater and you feel good. And I can't say that happens often as of late.
I'd love to hear you say that.
Yeah,
by the way.
and I love Hugh Jackman too. I think
Yeah,
he's
so do I.
so talented. So let's play a little clip from The Mandalorian and Grogu. That's how you say it, right?
Yes.
They're escaping the bad guys, and Baby Yoda needs to step up and save them both. Here it is.
Grogu, I need you to go to the control panel. Remember the buttons I told you never to touch? I'm gonna need you to touch them. Look for the ignition relay cutoff. It's next to the fuel differential readout, which is between the pump compression gauge and the primary reserve.
Well, that's not getting me there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what
What'd
do you think?
Well, I come to Baby Yoda late. I did not watch The Mandalorian. So everybody had the, Baby Yoda's cute moment like 5 years ago. And so I had the, Baby Yoda's cute moment when I was at The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is probably why the rating is slightly higher than it should have been. This is boring.
Oh.
And here's the thing. If you had told me on May 25th, 1977, that I would not want to be anywhere near a Star Wars movie, I would have laughed in your face. But I've long since abandoned my Star Wars fandom. And so it takes place between like around Return of the Jedi, if I'm not mistaken, because there's Jabba the Hutt's son is in this.
Yep.
And he's ripped, and he's played by the bear guy. What's his name? Jeremy Allen White. He sounds like Seth Rogen. I thought it was Seth Rogen the entire movie. It's not. It's Jeremy Allen White. The last thing you want to see is Jabba the Hutt with a six-pack. But his son has a six-pack.
Oh, no.
And Martin Scorsese is in this. He's a four-armed monkey.
He is?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of Martin Scorsese, we were going to bring him up anyway, but you provided the perfect segue. He recently announces he's invested in an AI company called Black Forest Labs. It uses the technology to help create storyboards. Here's Scorsese.
No one on the set over the last 45 years knows what the picture in your head is.
There's always been that problem of like what you see in here, how do you get it there? How do you create what you have in your thought, in your mind's eye? It's almost like a painter, How does he or she get that from here onto the canvas?
Are you comfortable with this, or are you holdout? No? Why?
No.
Why not?
I come from tech. People forget that movie criticism is not what my career was. I spent 35 years in IT.
Oh.
And so there are two types of IT people. There's an evangelist that sounds like everybody that's on screaming that AI is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then there's the Cassandra. Guess which one I am?
We know which one you are, Cassandra.
And so tech people who are Cassandras, we're paranoid about everything because we know exactly what the technology can do. Now, Scorsese, I got a real cynical theory about this. He's 83. They probably paid him an ungodly amount of money for him to kind of promote this stuff. But I have to ask the question, if AI is what is needed now, what was he doing before this? How many movies has he made? 40? And what was he doing before this? So to me, it feels like we're taking people's creativity and their jobs away to do something that AI doesn't even do properly because it's garbage in, garbage out. We've been saying it about computers for decades, and it's nothing but garbage in. I mean, ChatGPT says that Florence Henderson is my mother. Look it up. So where's our Brady Bunch money, Carol? So I don't like this. Like Aronofsky just tried to do this in his enormous flop on YouTube. Soderbergh, all these directors jumping on the bandwagon, and all these directors have something in common. They are old. And I can say this because I just turned 56 and I'm old too. But these younger guys, they're not using this stuff. The guy that made Backrooms, he's 20. his movie made what, $100 million this past weekend. He is against AI. So all these older directors who did it the old-fashioned hard way, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So yeah, I'm against this. So I'm kind of mad at Marty.
So we're talking to Cassandra Henderson. Now,
Yes,
Cassandra,
Cassandra Henderson.
if you had done a similar thing, maybe you have in the past, since we talked about Martin Scorsese, and despite your dissatisfaction with his AI embrace, a pretty brilliant director, what would be your top 3 on his long list, a la Spielberg list?
Oh, that's easy. For me, I love boxing movies, so you know this.
Oh,
Raging Bull
what
would be
a
number 1,
Raging Bull is just...
and Taxi Driver would be 2, and his number 3 is a shocker for a lot of people: The Age of Innocence.
How about Mean Streets?
Oh, I
No
love
Mean
The
Streets?
Age of Innocence.
Mean Street's in the top 10. It comes down, but The Age of Innocence, I said, was Scorsese's most violent movie. Psychologically, it is.
Total
And it's just,
tearjerker.
oh yeah, it
Oh
destroys you.
yeah, it does. I love that. I love the book. They're both
I do too.
tearjerkers.
So we may have done this already, but since I don't remember the conversation with you, let's do it again in case we have done it. One of my pet peeves about movies is their length. And by chance, I happen to look at the length of Masters of the Universe and The Mandalorian and Grogu. And you may be surprised to know they are the exact same length. They're both, you're nodding, so you did know. They're both 132 minutes long. My attitude, I don't quote him anymore. Every time I say I don't quote him anymore, I quote him. My favorite film director, before I found out the truth about his private behavior, and there's a whole debate about whether you should consider that, Woody Allen's brilliance, amongst other things, was he said what he had to say in 94 minutes or something like that. Are you troubled by the length of films in 2026, Odie Henderson?
Well, we had this conversation when last year everything was 2 hours and 20 minutes long.
Oh, was that
There
so?
was like
Okay.
7 movies where it was 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And I'm going to quote someone else that I always say I'm not going to quote, but I do anyway. Roger Ebert said that no good movie is too long and no bad movie is short enough.
Great point. Great
That is
point.
a great line.
Now, with that said, I have high blood pressure and I take a diuretic, which means that I have to pee every 30 seconds. So having this, and I'm not allowed to leave the movie. As a critic, you can't get up and walk away. What if something happens and I miss it because I have to go to the
Let me tell you, I'm not going to sit in front of you at a screening. That's for
I'll
sure.
be fine. I can hold it. If I can hold it for freaking Avatar, I can hold it for Mandalorian.
So why are they? Why 220 last year? Why 212 this year? Well,
There's another movie that's 212 also, by the way. But you didn't mention
which
it, but
is?
yeah. I'm trying to remember which one it is, but there was something else that was exactly
Okay.
132 minutes.
Obviously, they do focus groups. They know what'll work, what won't work. Why are movies so long? And I assume people are fine with it, or they wouldn't be doing it, right?
I don't know. I think does the studio think there's more bang for your buck if the movie is longer? It's like these epic movies, We're talking about movies that are quote unquote blockbuster type things, that are going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes, or 2 hours and 13 minutes, 12 minutes in this case. I wonder if that's what it is. I don't know. The Mandalorian, it's too long. It's I always say a comedy should never be more than 90 minutes long, unless
Yeah.
you're Billy Wilder
Yeah.
and you can pull it off. So I mean, like I don't know why, but the weird thing was that year when Honora and The Substance and all these other movies, Amelia Perez, they were all 2 hours and 20 minutes exactly. And I was like, is this the new 90? So the theory is still out on 132 minutes, but I think that you can, I don't know. I honestly don't know. My guess is that if you make it longer, you'll go see the movie because
Yeah.
you're getting more money
More for your money.
Yeah.
We're
That's my
just told by one of our colleagues, you just celebrate your 600th piece at the Globe.
Yes.
Is that true?
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Now it's 606, but it's 600. And that piece was the Breadwinner review, which I'm sorry that I'll be forever associated with Nate Bargatze and at the Globe being my 600th review, but 600th article. But thank you, Nate.
By the way, we're almost out of time here, but I forget what you thought about Honora. Honora won the Academy Award, and I just didn't get it. It was kind of, I didn't get it.
I saw it at TIFF, and then I saw it again, and it's Roger. Gene used to yell at Roger for giving what he called the quote, the polite 3-star review.
Yeah.
Which was he wrote a 2.5-star review and he put 3 stars on top of it. I am guilty of that on occasion, and Honora was one of those occasions. I should have given it 2.5 stars, and I gave it 3. So marginal like of Honora, but I agree with you. I kind of didn't get it, although Mikey Madison kind of saves the movie. Her performance is excellent.
As the main woman in the movie.
As a Nora,
okay,
yes.
okay, as a Nora. She was very good, but I just thought, wow, won the Academy Award. I
wasn't with that,
yeah,
as
me,
you know.
Me neither.
Next time, we should have brought it up, but we're out of time. I want to discuss the Nate Bargatze thing, because he, to me, is a classic example of somebody who's so brilliant in one venue, meaning stand-up and skits and stuff, and has decided to spread the so-called wealth so far beyond what he should be doing, and I think he's ruining his brand, a term I never use. Hey, Odie, congratulations on 606. Keep it going, and it's wonderful to see you, as always.
Thank you so much, Odie.
Odie
Love
Henderson.
to talk
Great to
to
see
you.
you guys, too. Thanks.
Read his stuff if you don't. It's great.
Yeah,
He's great.
He's a great writer and a great
great.
critic, and I almost always agree with him, too.
He also has a great sense of humor, which is really important in criticism.
Thanks, folks.
Okay, thank you. We've been speaking with Boston Globe film critic Odie Henderson, also the author of Black Caesars and Foxy Cleopatras, A History of Blaxploitation, cinema. Coming up, have this quick break. It is time for Am I the A-Hole? Reclining Airplane Seats Edition. We're doing this today so we can all hear Jim tell his airline marshal story.
I'm not even going to tell it because you said
the
that.
750th time. The
Maybe I
staff
will
says
tell.
700.
Maybe I will tell.
I think we're veering into 1,000. I'm Marjorie.
Well, Odie had 600 articles, and I'm going to tell it for the 600th time. That's fine.
This is BPR, GBH, NEPM. Oop, not NEPM now. Streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, imagine, if you will, robots too small to be perceived by the naked eye, controlled remotely by an intricate system of magnets. It's like something out of James Bond.
Positively shocking.
We'll see what a local team of scientists are up to. Well, we won't see. They're microscopic, but neither will you, because it's radio. That's the Curiosity Desk, today at 1 on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you and the University of Rhode Island's College of Business, with an online Master's of Science in Supply Chain Management designed to prepare students to develop resilient and flexible supply chain strategies. URI.edu/MS Supply Chain. And MIT Federal Credit Union, banking built on innovation, guided by real people. Memberships open to the public. More at mitfcu.org, federally insured by NCUA.
Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Back at the library tomorrow, Diana DeZoglio is with us, the auditor, talking about, well, you know what she's talking about, live music and more. June 23rd, 11 to 12 at the library. The Attorney General, Andrea Joy Campbell, is there to answer your questions. So it's time for Am I the A-Hole? Segment where Marjorie's staff scours the internet to find, we hope, real-life dilemmas, and we present them to you to weigh in. So today's issue comes to us from Reddit. Here's the story. On an 8-hour flight, one tall man chose to recline his seat after enjoying the in-flight meal to take in a little nap, he said. But upon doing so, Marjorie, the person in the seat behind him started to make a stink, saying his kid, meaning the guy in behind, was put in danger by the reclining seat and chastises the recliner for being so selfish. For obvious reasons, this post really spoke to me on a personal level. One suggestion from the person who yelled at the recliner was that he should inform him anytime he wants to put his seat back. Is that not a reasonable request? Or is this guy, meaning the complainer, being an a-hole for making up new rules about reclining etiquette? The number is 877-301-8970. Reclining airplane seats and you. It's sort of summer travel season. Who's the bigger joke? The recliner, the complainer about the reclining, or the airline executives who squish us in their ever tinier little seats and make us walk by first-class people drinking champagne while we're about to be incarcerated in economy. 877-301-8970. Who's the a-hole, Marjorie? Don't say the airline. Everybody knows it's the airline. I mean, it's obviously the airline. But of the two, of the complainer and the recliner, who's the a-hole?
It is the complainer.
What?
Yes. Well, because the recliner, when you read through it, you realize that he did not do it super fast, as he said. He moved back. He thought not slowly, but slowly enough. and the kid behind was either 3 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
What is the kid what is the kid doing that their head is that close to the reclining seat? They're a little kid. They're supposed to be in their seat, right? They should be nowhere near the reclining seat. I think he was making a big deal out of nothing, and the guy ended up having his seat straight up the entire rest of the flight. And when he turned around to go to the bathroom, you know what he saw?
No.
The complainers behind him, they all had reclined their seats, and they were all fast asleep.
Let me be clear. You are pro recliner? And excuse me, he is not just a recliner. He is a recliner without turning around and saying, excuse me, is it okay with you if I recline my seat and hit your 3-year-old child right in the head with it? And by the way,
people don't turn around and say, excuse me,
I
I'm going to recline my seat.
I have never well, that's not true, actually. Well, I've almost never
You always do, excuse me, I'm going to recline my seat.
Excuse me, I've almost never reclined my seat. And by the way, forget the little kid. Even if there's no little kid in this thing, you don't recline your seat. How do you know what kind of discomfort you're causing for the person back of you?
They make the seats with recliners so that you can sleep on the airplane.
Did you read Christopher Muther's piece from 5 years ago in the Boston Globe saying economy should get rid of reclining seats because there's no damn room for them?
Oh, well, I've wiped it out if I did read it.
By the way, I don't know if I probably never told you this.
Yeah.
I was on a plane, transatlantic plane, a number of years ago.
Yeah, okay.
Where a little tiny kid who was maybe 4 feet tall. Yeah. How tall am I? I forget. 6'5". A little tiny kid who is maybe 4 feet tall slams his seat back into my knees, and his father, first of all, his father threatens me when I say, hey, little boy, can you please put your seat up? I'm a little bit bigger than you. And then the part I've never told you before, the flight attendant threatened that the U.S. Marshals were going to take me off the plane when we landed at Logan if I didn't leave my seat. It was a 747 and stand at the bar for the remaining 3 hours. Because he reclined into me.
The air marshals were ready to take you away.
Well, they were. Is that funny? It was. By the way, I can't believe you think the a-hole is the complainer.
I do, because the guy was not being rude. He was trying to go to sleep at night. It was a very long flight, long haul flight for 9 hours. He wanted to catch a little shut eye. And the people behind them are total hypocrites because they're all reclining their seats, including the little kid.
Okay, let me say one more thing about the airlines, if I can. I just touched on this before.
And by the way, when someone behind you a kid behind you is misbehaving, you don't have a conversation with the kid, Jim. You don't turn around and say, hey, little boy.
Excuse me, it wasn't behind me. He was in front of me.
Okay, you talk to the parent. You talk to the parent. You don't have.
Okay,
you don't
let me just say,
accosting
in the spirit of full
children.
disclosure, Marjorie knows this. I haven't said this in the air before. I always carry adhesive tape with me to tape little kids so that they can't do the button. By the way, one of the things I did, which should upset people, is when the kid went to the bathroom, I did press the button on his seat, and which you would have done too. By the way, listen to this anonymous texter. Talk about obnoxious. Jim, you reduce your show to 2 hours, and you repeat the same story about reclining your seat. Yes, I do.
700 times.
By the way, it's not been 700 times. Maybe 100 times on the air.
Oh, it's way more than
Maybe
100.
It's 200 times. Maybe it's 200 times.
Jim's favorite things we repeat at least 4 or 5 times a year. So you're the mathematician.
Yeah.
If it's 5 times a year,
and
27
we've been on 27 years.
Yeah, we're in the
it's
hundreds.
135. So it's not anywhere near 600 or 700. By the way, do you know when you eat it when you have a kid? You should have learned this from Corby Comer, and you want them to eat new food. You know how to get them to eat new food? You repeat the opportunity to eat the food many, many times.
Okay.
I am telling this story until it sinks into the mind of every listener we have ever had. End of discussion. Okay? 877-301-8097. Who's the a-hole? The recliner who, again, reclined his seat without any notice to the people behind him and smashed into the head of the little kid.
Gives
or the complainer.
To the people behind them. They recline their seat slowly.
Would you complain if someone slammed their seat into you without asking? Would you, yes or no?
He didn't slam.
Well, if he did, would you complain?
Jim, he couldn't slam the seat into you.
Oh, yes, he could.
Because there's at least 2.5 feet between you and the seat.
You know why he couldn't slam it back? Because the kid's head was stuck when he reclined it right in that little opening. Addie in Somerville.
Hi, Addie.
We're talking about reclining seats. Who's the a-hole? Hi.
Hi. I love you guys. It's my first time.
Oh, thank you.
You guys are very funny. You guys are very funny, very, very funny.
Thank
but
you.
I disagree with you, Marjorie. I really think also with you, Jim, I really think it's the complainer. Because, they keep on always talking. Once, if you're smashing the little kid's head, he's going to cry,
Exactly.
So what? You always hear crying on a plane. You just got to deal with it. But then, you know what?
What?
The complainer will start complaining, and then it just gets really annoying. I mean, that's all I got to say.
Okay, Addie, now you sound
Excellent
like
first
a
call.
young person. Are you a young person, Addie?
Yeah, I'm 13.
You're 13, I thought so. So you would take these, I just want to be clear, you're on the kid's side as a kid yourself or not on the kid's side?
I would say, yeah, the kid's side, I would say.
There you go. There you go. I'm with you, Addie. Thank you very much.
You're not with Addie. Addie is with me. Addie, that was a brilliant first call. Make another one soon. Listen to these people. This is because of you, by the way. The people said, this is in capital letters, so it's even worse. Anonymous texter. Oh, my God. 4 exclamation marks. Jim, get over it, you pompous asshat. Boo-hoo. I mean, really? They're only doing this because you're baiting
Or
them.
Jim, pay for a larger seat for goodness sake. Jesus.
Yeah. Now, let's talk for a second about
Okay.
the sadism of the airlines.
They are sadistic.
The entry point, as it
Yeah.
is on some larger jets, should be behind, if you're going to economy, should be behind first class. They want you to walk through first class
Right.
so they know
See all the
that
people
you're tortured.
drinking
That if you
champagne.
could spend $8,000
Their
to
feet up.
fly,
Yep.
you get champagne in a big seat.
Yeah,
Does that
big
not
seat.
aggravate the hell out of you?
aggravates- You know what really aggravates the hell out of me is, and I hate to fly, I almost never fly, but the lineup, because everybody's worried about getting their overhead suitcase in the overhead bin, and many times they're too big for the overhead bins. So it's kind of like dog eat dog when they call your row. Everybody's just up there, just ready to trash their way down the aisle and throw that.
You know what's worse?
What?
You're in the back of the plane, and instead of taking your bag to the back of your plane, you put it in the overhead near the front of the plane. So the people near the front of the plane, not first class, near the front of the plane in economy, have no space to put their crap. So they have to put it behind where their seat is, which makes it impossible to get off the plane in timely
They
fashion.
should arrest a few of those people, take them out in shackles with
Can I
federal
tell you, in a
marshals.
moment of seriousness, if a person reclines their seat without permission, before the plane
talking
takes
about?
off, throw them off the plane. I'm raising my right hand. Can you get this? I'm raising my right
you
hand.
would want us to believe
Throw them off
that
the
you
plane.
turn around and say, "Excuse me,
Yes.
I would like to recline my seat."
Would that
Do
be
you mind?"
okay with you?
I don't believe you.
And
for
then
a
I
second.
say, "Do you know who I am?" And most of them, like at Johnny's Luncheonette, do not. Caroline in Boston,
Okay.
you're next on BPR. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. What's your deal?
I travel every month.
Oh, I'm
On
sorry.
a regular basis.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And I have to travel to real hard places like Miami and New Orleans. But it doesn't matter. I'm totally with Marjorie. Who the heck asked permission
Exactly.
from the people behind them? I paid for my seat, and if my seat reclines, I should be able to recline it without asking permission. They didn't ask me permission to bring their obnoxious child on that's kicking my seat.
That's right.
Okay?
Okay. Sadly, that was
I
well
didn't, you
reasoned.
know?
Hey, Caroline, how do you feel when that person in front of you who paid for their seat, as you described it, reclines right into your knees? How do you feel about that?
Then you pay for a bigger seat because you know what? And the seats don't slam. They go back slowly because, like I said, I'm on a
Exactly.
plane every month.
Exactly.
They go back slowly. Nobody gets smacked in the head. And if your kid's head is against the seat, then you should be telling them to sit back and have them strapped in properly.
Caroline.
You know something,
that was a
Caroline?
hell of a
Hold on,
call.
Caroline. As someone who flies all the time, I mean, I'm sure you love children. I love children. Everybody loves children.
Sure.
But when you see the mom coming down the aisle with the 2 kids in her arms, what are you doing? You're saying to yourself, please, God, please,
Not
God,
next to me.
don't have him sit next to me.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that, Caroline?
I say, don't sit behind me, in front of me, or next to me. And the last flight I took, this kid was so obnoxious.
Yeah, they are.
And then, and my dog that I travel with all the time, because it's a service animal, behaves better than these kids do. Because nobody even knows that she's on the plane. But the last flight I took, this kid was trying to kick my dog in the head on the bus to go to the car.
Caroline,
rental
while
place.
you don't agree
And
with me on this, my
should
position
arrest
is
that kid,
there
too.
should be a kids
Take him out
only flight.
in
I'm
cuffs.
serious. We've had
Kids
this
only.
discussion before. There's certain flights for adults.
To Orlando.
If you want to bring your kids,
Disney
you go
World.
on a kids and adults separate flight. Caroline, thanks for an excellent call, even though I disagree with you. Here's an anonymous texter, another person egged on by you. If being right was a sport, if being wrong was a sport, Jim would be world champion.
Yeah, how about the one right above it?
I don't
They're
want to
picking on
read
you,
that.
Jim.
Go ahead.
Of course, Jim swoops in as the sneaky third option, making it all about him. Jim is the a-hole.
Here's the best, though. I can't believe you didn't read this. Anonymous texter. It looks like Jim picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Oh,
877.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Thank you. Marjorie's happy.
We
We're all
really
set.
should have an airplane showing.
Can I ask
We'll
you a
all get
question?
together with the
Excuse
listeners
me.
and go watch the movie.
Excuse me. I have told the story about being manhandled on that transatlantic flight maybe 20 times.
Get to stand at the bar.
You have called for the sound for I picked a bad week for sniffing glue 8,000 times. Why is that okay? And my telling my story that actually has some value to people is not okay. How about that?
Well, because the sound from airplane is very funny and entertaining, unlike some of the stories.
By the
that
way,
we've heard
I
9,000
assume
times.
Nicole's responsible for this because she posted a YouTube poll. 53% of people would not let Jim recline his seat if they were sitting behind. Okay, well, that's actually better than I expected. We have to take a break. Sorry.
We have to take a break.
Right back.
Okay, we're talking about reclining seat etiquette on airplanes. Jim is ridiculously insisting that no one should recline their seat,
Or at least
without
ask.
asking
At least ask.
permission.
Yeah, exactly.
And he has been outed here as the a-hole by most of our listeners. 877-301-8970. This is Boston Public Radio, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. We'll be right back.
As schools around the country move towards getting screens out of classrooms, students with disabilities and their families say their needs are being left behind.
It's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. For some kids, the screen is their accessibility tool.
Hear that story on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Today at 4, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you. And Blythewald, presenting Music at Sunset. Concertgoers can experience a variety of local music while watching the sailboat races on Narragansett Bay. Wednesday nights at Blythewald in Bristol, Rhode Island. Blythewald.org. And Standish Village in Dorchester's Lower Mills, providing assisted living residents with programs designed to help seniors stay sharp, social, and independent. Learn more at standishvillage.com/programs.
Welcome back to VPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. It is Am I the A-Hole Thursday, and there are two choices. A guy reclines his seat without asking permission, slams into the head of the kid behind him. But even if he hadn't slammed into the kid behind him, makes the person behind him totally uncomfortable. Marjorie's position is he is not the a-hole, which he clearly is, but rather the person who has the audacity to complain about it is.
Yeah.
This is one area which will not surprise you, where Larry David and I are in the exact same spot. Here's Larry David on the Rich Eisen Show talking about reclining airline seat rules. Here he is.
You do not go back into a person's lap.
Wow. Oh, yes.
You don't do that. It's totally, it's so inconsiderate. One notch. I'll give you one notch.
Thank you, LD.
Okay?
Wow. Thank you.
One notch. That's it. Nobody wants to see your head. Okay? They just don't want to see it. And there's not enough room as it is.
But the button's there for a reason.
It's wrong.
Amen. The button should
It's
not
wrong.
be there. It's totally true.
We have several anonymous texts.
I'm sure they're all
Here's
critical
one.
of me.
Well, this one is, what do you mean I can't recline? I'm an anchorman.
It's like
That is
Ron
from
Burgundy
one of our other
imitation
favorite
there.
movies,
Thank you.
Anchorman, which is really good.
Okay.
877-301-8970. Another anonymous texter wants to put up a poll. Would you rather hear a story from Jim or sound from Airplane? think we'd all agree. Sound.
Even
from
I'd rather
airplane.
hear a sound from airplane.
Okay, let's go to
Ada.
Ada, thank you.
Worcester.
In Worcester, thank you.
Hi, Ada.
Hello, my name is Zaida. I think she misheard my name. But anyway, I love you both, and you compliment each other. It's wonderful to listen to you laughing.
Thank you.
And I would like to say my pleasure. And regarding the reclining, I think there is a recliner so you can recline. So I'm definitely with Jim.
Exactly. No, yeah, okay.
They punished Jim to stand for 3 hours. I think they should have compensated him for the flight because they didn't let him sit in the seat. And as for loading the airplane, I don't think first class should go first. I think the furthest down the airplane, people should go there, like the 30th and 40 numbers, and then walk all the way back to the first class.
You know, we have to.
That's a great point.
Ada, we have to let
It's a
you go
bad
only
po-
because it's a
bad
horrible connection.
That
We really
is a great
appreciate
point,
your
though.
call. What?
Why don't the people that are in the last rows, they should load from the back to the front? Why don't they do that?
Excuse me. They do. And the problem is what I just described.
They
They
don't.
put their bags on the top. Well, okay. I
It's
see
by
what you're
section.
saying.
They get
I see
A,
you.
B, C, D, right? So here's section D.
Oh,
You're
that's a
probably
good
going to be
point,
toward
yeah.
the back, but everybody goes in at the same section D at the same time. So you have all this.
Oh,
problem.
actually, I read something about that in the Wall Street Journal.
Did you?
They were thinking of doing that, and
Mhm.
one of the executives objected and said that won't make the customers as uncomfortable as we want them to be. So let's do that.
Well, sometimes you think there is sort of some sadism going on.
Total
I mean, you're just shoved
sadism.
in. It's like a cattle call. That's why I like to take trains. Why don't we have fast trains like everybody else in the world? You go across the country on a train. Wouldn't that be great?
I would like to say something I've also said 50 times on
What?
the air. When I was in France for the first time, Jim was in France.
was in France.
When I was in France for the
The
first time,
Champs-Élysées.
which was about 35 years ago. Do you know what I rode on 35 years ago? Maybe 38 years ago.
Fast train.
A TGV, Très Grand Vitesse, very fast speed. How much high-speed rail we have in the United States? Zero.
I
In
know.
2026, almost
You know,
40
isn't it-
years later.
Doesn't it kind of get you? We're the richest country on earth, and I remember going to other places, where you see these beautiful trains. I remember going to Greece to visit a friend who had a house in Greece. It was great.
I know you did.
And they were bankrupt. Their airport was gorgeous. It was gleaming. I mean, it's so bizarre. We have dirty highways, potholes.
You know what they also do in Greece? You told me this when you came back, and you were bragging about it then. No reclining seats in their jets, which is exactly as it should be.
And the international airlines, the government must subsidize them. You go on Aer Lingus, you go on Alitalia, you go on Air France. You know what you get? Free food.
Yeah.
And on Air France and Alitalia, free liquor.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
she's complaining.
And now what do you get in the American airline? You get
Pretzel.
Pretzel.
Yeah.
You get
Or peanuts.
You get one pretzel between here and California.
On the Honeymooners, which young people have watched too, because it's still back on. Ralph, who's the star, Jackie Gleason, gets a small raise from his employer, and he says to Norton, his sidekick, his friend, he says, "He gave me peanuts, Ralph." Norton, what am I going to do with peanuts? And you know what Norton says back? Eat them like all the rest of the elephants, Ralph. That's an inappropriate joke in
It is an
2026
inappropriate
because
joke.
Ralph is a little overweight.
Ralph is a little heavy.
Ron in Seabrook, how are you, Ron? Welcome to the show. We got a little off track there. Hey.
Hi, thanks again. I'm wondering what other standard equipment on the airplane you think should be off limits.
That's right. Great question.
The plane's built with a recliner.
Well, they shouldn't be built with a recliner. There used to not be jets either. They used to be prop planes. Should we not have jets? There's progress.
Well,
Go ahead.
There's bathrooms. Do you think you shouldn't be able to use
Can I tell you something? Let me just tell you something. That doesn't, excuse me, no, it's not a great
Brilliant point.
That doesn't qualify as a bathroom. If you are taller than 4'11", have you ever tried, how tall are you?
5'7".
How, and I want to be, you don't like this kind of talk, but I think everybody knows women sit down when they...
They do.
You ever tried
Yes,
sitting
that's
down
right.
in one of those damn bathrooms?
Sometimes it's a little rocky.
It's a little, no, it's not just rocky. Your knees are like in the aisle. I mean, it is sadism, as you said before. Ron, thank you. You make a good point, but it wasn't that good.
I thought
Thank
that was
you.
a brilliant point.
What?
Well, they put the reclining seats there. Why do they do that?
Take 'em out.
So you can Recline.
Yeah.
Recline.
Excuse me.
sound like Trump.
Before Ralph
Clean coal.
Nader wrote "Unsafe at Any Speed," were there seatbelts in cars? No. Ron would have said, and you would have said, they don't have seatbelts, so obviously you're not supposed to have seatbelts. Well, seatbelts made it safer, so we added them. No reclining function would make those better.
So by your
we should do
logic,
that.
Jim, what we're supposed to do is supposed to get in the cars with the seatbelts, but not buckle them up.
No, we should buckle them up. I'm saying
What's the
some
di- is
progress
this
is good. And what would be progress is no reclining button so you can't lean back and torture little children and adults behind you.
Jim,
by the way, I know this woman pretty well. I worked with her for
you're really passionate
decades.
about these reclining buttons.
If someone, you're fairly tall. If someone in a tight seat on a plane reclined into your knees, you'd be screaming bloody murder, and you know you would.
I don't think they recline into your knees.
They do. It says on the button, do you want to recline into their knees or just a notch, as Larry David said. And by the way, I am tall. I mean,
You are tall.
They take him as they see him, and I am tall. It hurts.
You could get shrunk before your next
You know they have
airplane
those knee guard things you can buy
Knee guard.
everywhere?
The knee guards.
The knee guard that
Oh,
came
yeah.
out about 15 years ago.
That's right. You bought
where
them, didn't you?
I did originally, and then I lost them with my Flobies. Same thing. It was a scene on TV, late night
Tell
TV.
people what the knee guards
You put
are.
it on your knee, and
Yeah.
you can press your knee up against the airline seat in front of you, so they can't recline, and it doesn't hurt your knee because there's knee padding there. You know
I
what
wonder
I mean?
what these basketball teams and those big
They have charter flights.
Charter flights,
Charter
but I wonder how
flights.
the seats are arranged in these charter flights. You ever been on one of those charter flights, Jim?
No.
Oh, Texter wants to know whether there's still ashtrays in planes. There are
I
still
think there are,
ashtrays?
incredibly, in some planes. Edgar, are you coming in here? Or, yeah, Edgar's running in here because
Edgar's
I'm
coming
actually
in.
quite interested.
Jim is
in his
really
first story.
worked
I'm
up into a frenzy.
Edgar is not that tall. He's normal height. And
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet that Edgar is with me on this thing.
You know, the thing is, Jim.
What is it?
I mean, I don't know if you want to spend your life getting so impassioned about buttons on reclining
You ever been threatened
seats.
by having the air marshals haul you off a plane? Did I ever tell you that story?
I think you've told it
Now,
once
your
or
average
twice.
height, is that correct? You're like 5'10" or something?
I'm 5'8", 5'9", yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I assume you're with me that people should not recline into your knees without getting asking if it's okay to recline. Correct?
I think if somebody reclines back into your knees
Yes.
too far, you should then be allowed to lean in and like whisper something into their ear, like, "Could you please move up a little bit?"
It's not
Or some-
strong
you know what I
enough.
mean?
Right. It's
You
not
don't think that's strong enough?
No, I do
Yeah,
not.
yeah. He thinks you're supposed to ask permission. Of
course you should.
You should have. You should at least
Thank you.
even
Thank you.
just like look back. You don't have to ask permission. Just kind of, I'm going to lean back, or like a little
you look
visual.
back. You look back. Don't ask permission. Say, "Excuse me, I'm going to crush your legs right now," and the head of your child is going to be crushed between the seat and your knees.
You know, do you know how many times we've had this conversation about his damn knees in the airplane? I mean, this is about...
I've heard it a lot. I mean, look, for me, I feel like it looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking.
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Okay.
The
What do you-
hospital, what is it?
I
It's a
wanna-
big building with patients, but that's not important right now.
Oh, isn't it the best movie ever?
It's so good. We should have a screening. Let's have an airplane
right
screening.
down there in the
That's a great
Yawkey place.
Whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And we can all have a couple of cocktails and have a hell of a
Okay,
time.
what are you
And
doing on the
recline
show?
our seats back into Jim's lap.
What are you doing?
Oh, well, it doesn't matter what we're doing today because, importantly, while you're on this topic, next week we're doing a segment where we're going to talk to some researchers who have looked at how should you actually be boarding the plane. So I love that you're talking about it. So people have looked at, do you go from the back forward? Do you go from the forward back? Is there a better way to do it? This is like one of those things where, like, how have we not figured this out? But there are people out there, big brains,
Okay.
looking into it.
What
So
day
we're
are
gonna
you
do
doing
that.
this? What day are you doing this?
Sometime next week.
Okay.
As for today, we have Joan Donovan. That's all I got to
Oh,
say.
I
She's
love
amazing.
Joan Donovan.
You want to feel smarter? Listen to her.
Yeah, she's great. I love Joan Donovan. And I love your news segments, too. I love your show, Edgar.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Really,
We love your show, too.
You're kicking there. You're kicking. Can we say that? We can't say kicking. You can't say the word after it, I guess.
Did I ever tell you what happened to me when I was... Oh, I did. I forgot that I had already said it.
Okay. Thank you for tuning in today. You can check out our TikTok page, which is very clever, Boston Public Radio. Tomorrow we're going to be back at the Boston Public Library with our media analysis segment, Press Play with Boston Globe political reporters Kelly Garrity and Matt Stout. Live Music Friday with mariachi singer Veronica Robles. Plus, Auditor Diana DiZoglio as she continues her battle to try to audit the legislature.
Excuse me, Lucy from Cape Ann. Marjorie gets to play the sound clip from Airplane as many times as she wants because it's hysterically funny.
It is.
Jim can't tell his airplane story anymore because he's complaining, which we hear enough of from him every day.
Lucy from Cape Cod, you hit the nail on the head there. That was brilliant.
Block her.
We want to thank our crew. Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, Ariana Gonzalez, Brad Lewis, Angelica Marrero on the YouTube channel today. Our engineer, John DeClaw Parker, and Jamie Bologna, our executive producer. Edgar and the Curiosity Desk is up next with the great Joan Dunham. We love her. Starting immediately after us on 89.7 GBH, The Culture Show with Jared Bowen starts at 2. And next week, Jared's going to get to the bottom of, Edgar's going to get to the bottom.
Right. How should we be boarding the plane?
How should we be boarding the plane?
Bye.
Doesn't get any better than that.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's how-tos and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you. And Boston Theater Company, presenting Road of Rainbows, a joyful Pride 5K run or walk during Pride weekend on June 6th on the Boston Common with costumes, community, and celebration. BostonTheater.org.
And the Boston Speaker Series, announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings, featuring Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Doris Kearns-Goodwin, and financial journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin. BostonSpeakers.org.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, just how much money is there to be made in the AI slop economy? All around the world, content creators are trying to get rich quick with videos that take little time to produce and often make no sense, which it turns out can actually help with engagement. And while creators make their quick buck, what's in it for the rest of us and our relationship with the internet? Then imagine, if you will, robots, too small to be perceived by the naked eye, controlled remotely by an intricate system of magnets. Sounds like something out of James Bond. We'll talk with 2 researchers over at MIT about these so-called magnobots and where this futuristic tech can take us. Then you've been submitting a ton of curiosity questions on the GBH website. Today we venture to answer a few, including why do we paint our barns red? This hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Former Trump administration National Security Advisor John Bolton has reached an agreement with federal prosecutors to plead guilty to mishandling classified information. The plea deal would resolve the criminal case against Bolton brought last year by the Justice Department. Here's NPR's Ryan Lucas.
John Bolton is facing 18 criminal counts, including transmission and retention of national defense information. Prosecutors say Bolton kept detailed notes that included classified information during his time as National Security Advisor in President Trump's first term, and sent the material to 2 family members ahead of a planned memoir. Under the tentative plea deal, Bolton would plead guilty to a single count of retaining classified information and face a fine of $2.25 million. That's according to a person familiar with the matter speaking on condition of anonymity. Bolton could face 0 to 5 years in prison under the arrangement. A federal judge would still have to approve any plea deal. The Justice Department declined to comment beyond referring to a court notice scheduling a rearrangement for Bolton later this month. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Washington.
Israel is issuing new warnings today in southern Lebanon, saying it'll keep attacking. There was a ceasefire announced just yesterday in Washington between Israel and Lebanon. More from NPR's Jana Raff.
In addition to the Israeli military's new evacuation warnings, Lebanese state media says Israel also launched multiple artillery and airstrikes into the morning. A Hezbollah official told NPR that the group officially informed the Lebanese president that it would not accept any ceasefire that did not begin with the withdrawal of Israeli forces from South Lebanon. The official asked to remain anonymous because he was not authorized to speak publicly on the issue. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz, meanwhile, said Israel was demanding the creation of what it called a demilitarized zone within Lebanon, while being able to continue attacks against Iran-backed Hezbollah. Jane Araf, NPR News, Beirut.
The nation is facing new health threats like hantavirus and Ebola, but many state and local health departments have less power to protect the public from outbreaks than they did during the COVID pandemic. NPR's Rob Stein reports.
All the lockdowns, school closures, mask mandates, and vaccine requirements during the COVID pandemic angered many Americans. As a result, many states placed new restraints on some of their authorities to respond to outbreaks. Some imposed limitations on the power to declare public health emergencies. Others pulled back powers to impose mask mandates, require vaccinations, or restrict public gatherings. Many public health experts worry the changes, combined with budget and staff cuts, leave the nation more vulnerable. Rob Stein, NPR News.
It's NPR.
And with the GBH Newsroom in Boston, I'm Craig Lamolt. Workers at 2 hospitals in the Mass General Brigham system are rallying today as contract negotiations entered their 8th month. Nick Smith of the union 1199 SEIU, United Healthcare Workers East, says workers are protesting at Brigham and Women's Faulkner Hospital in Boston and Cooley Dickinson Hospital in Northampton.
A lot of our departments are working understaffed or are being covered with travelers, which, travelers don't reinvest in the community, and they take away jobs from people who live in our communities permanently.
In statements, both facilities pointed to more than a dozen bargaining sessions that have taken place and said they're committed to good faith negotiations. A new report says President Trump's immigration policies have had a dire impact on Massachusetts' labor force. Luke Schuster with Boston Indicators, which co-sponsored the report, he says immigrants make up a quarter of all jobs in the field of healthcare and social assistance. That includes jobs like nursing and personal care assistance. Schuster says many of those immigrants are now at risk of losing work authorization.
Immigrants have been critical to fueling our innovation economy and institutions of higher ed. We have a disproportionate share of foreign-born workers at both ends of the spectrum in those sectors, and the immigration crackdown that's happening federally is slowing flows for workers in both sectors.
The report noted that 42% of Massachusetts scientists reported that researchers in their labs had relocated to other countries over the past year as a direct result of the Trump administration policies. Sunny and hot today, temperatures around 90, pretty much the same thing tomorrow, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 90. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, which monitors safe driving habits to determine a personalized rate at Progressive.com. Not available in California or from all agents. This is NPR.
Welcome to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Join us there if you can. And hey, we're back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow, so you can join us there if you can. Well, it has been another blisteringly newsy week in the world of the internet, AI, misinformation, and more. We've got a West Coast mayor's race demonstrating that, yes, life imitates art when that art is reality TV in the manosphere. Europe is looking to increasingly go their own way in tech space, and people are not just getting sloppy, but rich with AI. And there's more, and there is but one person we'd want to talk to about all of that and that is Joan Donovan. Weekly conversation that we have with Joan, we're tentatively now calling the Glitch Report. Joan is, of course, the founder of the Critical Internet Studies Institute, a BU assistant professor of journalism and emerging media studies, a Curiosity Desk contributor, and co-creator, of course, of the beaver emoji. Hi, Joan. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to start today in the LA mayor's race, which for people in LA is a municipal story, a leadership story. I think for people who follow politics, it's a politics story. But for the rest of us is, I think, also a story, kind of an internet story and what's going on there. Tell us what is catching your eye in this mayor's race.
Yeah, so just to out myself a little bit, I spent a lot of years in California, and so I'm not immune to the hills and Vanderpump Rules and the reality TV show
got a
of it
certain
all.
allure for you.
Yeah, exactly. And so when I saw that Spencer Pratt was running for office, I became intrigued because his celebrity is one of being on reality shows. He's kind of known as this, poser, masculine guy, but at the end of it, he's kind of like a barking chihuahua in a lot of these shows. And, and so his celebrity is not someone that is, well organized and, running a big company or has any actual basis in political organizing.
Right.
His entire persona is reactionary. And so this moment for him politically is about trolling Karen Bass, right? This is all about the incumbent mayor. Of course, there was the major tragedies of the fires and the Palisades, and there is a lot to be upset about. But this is Pratt's entry into this race is really peculiar in the sense that he's not running on a typical political platform. He seems to be running on vengeance against Karen Bass, particularly.
Yeah, so we should just point out for folks who don't follow politics either in LA or closely in general, the way it works in LA for the mayor's race is it's this giant open primary. And if somebody gets more than 50% of the vote, they win. But if they don't, which is the case often when you have a lot of people in a race, the top two vote getters go on to a runoff. Now, the current mayor, Karen Bass, appears to have gotten enough votes. She's going to be one of the people in the runoff. Yeah. But Spencer Pratt is got a puncher's chance here of being the second one. He got into the race fairly late, so to speak, and as you point out, seemingly without a lot of political organizing, but there looks like a good chance that he is going to be the person that is facing off one-on-one with the current mayor in the runoff. I mean, that could happen, which is it surprising? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think the interviews with him, the media is painting him as this Trump 2.0. So that he is obviously pretty invested in some right-wing politics based on his attitudes about the world and about, capitalism, business, democracy, etc. But so he is affiliated with the right wing, but it's surprising that the GOP or the Republicans couldn't have run a real candidate. And that has a lot to do with, of course, the inertia of party politics in LA and trending towards Democrats. So, but this is going to be a pain for the next 5 months. You're going to see Spencer Pratt coming out, and if anything, he's going to cause doubt in the election's outcome, in the fairness of the election. On the upside, I think it might be good that he's calling attention to some of those really important problems that happen in LA repeatedly. I mean, the fires are a pattern. They're not, they're actually things that can be planned for. And so there are some good ideas in terms of reform that are not necessarily just his ideas, but the ideas of what should happen post-emergency. But unfortunately, it goes right inside with Trumpist kind of televisual politics. Trump constructed an entire cabinet as a reality TV show. You go from one character like Hegseth to Stephen Miller to Kristi Noem and her husband. And so you have all these side quests and these rabbit holes of reality TV that are showing up online. And Spencer Pratt is kind of a master at that.
And in addition to the fact that, as you point out, you kind of keep an eye on California because it's close to your heart, that you occasionally at least delve into some of the reality television from the West Coast, like The Hills, which is where Spencer Pratt comes out of. This also interfaces with your expertise because, as many people are pointing out, he is quote unquote winning the internet, and I think we are in a time where, as you point out, when we talk about Trump 2.0, I think it's not just that he is constructing this like a reality show, but he's doing it in a way where there is content being created for this all across platforms on the internet. And that's something that Trump and his administration have shown that they are good at. And I think it is still an open question right now. We are still in the developing days of understanding how success on the internet does or does not translate into success, both in getting to office, but then also in governing while in office. I want to play a little clip of sort of an AI video promoted by supporters of Pratt, that went on to garner 3 million views on X. Let's hear a little of this.
You didn't finish burning the city to the ground in your first term. Make sure you finish the job in your second.
The only thing that can stop us is someone telling the truth. As long as they don't have any hope, the city's ours.
Now, for those who haven't seen this, this is all built around Star Wars stuff. I think Karen Bass is Darth Vader in this. Gavin Newsom, whose voice was sort of like telling the current mayor, Karen Bass, to go and do evil things, is like the big bad here. And it's, poorly made from an aesthetic point of view, but clearly, in the right language for a certain population online, right?
Yeah, and I think, when you tap into Gen Z audiences with this kind of slop, it could go either way. There can be a lot of talk online about you and your politics and your political party, but it doesn't necessarily translate to people at the ballot box. I think what was surprising about Pratt getting so many votes, over 150,000 or so, close to that, is, it shows us very clearly that there are people willing to vote for someone like this, and that they are persuaded by this kind of internet trolling, shock and awe type of rhetoric. And now that he has the green light and, frankly, the bankroll to go at this for the next 5 months, you're going to see all kinds of digital shenanigans, from impersonating, fans of him, saying how great and egregiously wonderful he is. You're going to see him mobilize all of his Hollywood celebrity-style contacts, no matter how C, D, E, F, Z list they are.
Yeah.
And so he just threw a big party in LA, and he banned the media from it. It was exclusive to him and his donors and supporters. And so he is going to play some games with what kind of access the media gets to him and how he shapes his image going forward. And none of this would really be possible without social media being so open to allowing this kind of generative AI to exist.
Yeah, I mean, I also find it fascinating. There's that sort of fuzzy and fine line, and you've talked about it, and people who look at the so-called manosphere talk about it. This thing of, we're doing it for the lulz, ha ha. It's sort of like ironic. It's tongue in cheek until it's not.
Yeah.
There's this quote from Dan Cassino, who's a professor of government at Fairleigh Dickinson University, on a piece on NPR about this, and he said, if people are voting for Spencer Pratt because they think it's funny versus because they seriously want him to be mayor, the vote still counts.
Exactly.
And I find that really interesting, too, because I think there is some percentage of this where it is like people are sort of playing a game with real life. It's the reality show bleeding into real life thing.
Yeah, and what do we love more about a reality show except for a poll about who must go?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
true.
that kind of Big Brother moment, where voting and elections have been reduced to casting someone off the island. Right. And so this reality TV moment that we're going through, I think, is really important to mark as something quite different from the televisual politics of, say, the 60s when...
Yeah, the famous, like, Kennedy looked great on TV. Now politics has changed forever.
Exactly. And now you go online, you can't necessarily trust what you see, especially on certain platforms, where there is a lot of generative AI. It's very easy to get tricked by this stuff. Fake quotes from Mayor Bass, for instance, or fake quotes from Gavin Newsom, or sometimes even real but stupid and sarcastic quotes from Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
And so, I do think that future historians are going to look back on this moment and think, why did media drive so many of these people to the brink, right? I mean, what is it about politics at this point where it has become such a clown show that, we're electing reality TV stars in place of those who actually have the management capabilities to do the job? A politician's job is mostly administration.
Yeah.
But we've turned it into this celebrity contest at this point, and Trump is a big vector of that.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with Joan Donovan from the Critical Internet Studies Institute. Well, of course, one of the knocks by some on the coastal elite in places like California is their pseudo-European leanings. Well, let's go to real Europe right now, because there's news out of Europe, and what they're trying to, it seems like, kind of put a stake in the ground, plant a flag in the ground, and say, you know what? For our tech future, we're going to have to make some changes here. We cannot continue to rely on the U.S. in the way we have. Is this as big a deal as it seems like it might be?
It's huge. And it kicked off last year when Trump took office. And essentially what had happened was the president and his cabinet made recommendations to tech companies that they shouldn't provide services to places like the International Criminal Court. So this is where it really starts to become reality, is that you have this moment where Microsoft says, well, the International Criminal Court is trying Netanyahu, and we're going to and Microsoft removes their cloud services, removes the email account of the judge. And after that, people across the world realize that if you're dealing with American tech infrastructure, you're dealing with the American government. And this has changed dramatically. Usually tech companies want to be separate from the American government.
Yeah.
We have a tech weapons sector that is, Lockheed Martin, Anduril, not exactly household names. And so unfortunately, the problem that we're running into in this moment is that American politics are affecting the infrastructure of governments all over the world. And so they're now starting to back away. And I don't see necessarily a problem with more and varied communication infrastructures. France is now moving away from Google, for instance, and is going to be using a French version of search. There's going to be, obviously, the fight over data centers is local as it is global and international. And there are ways of doing data centers that are not as caustic to the environment, but they're way more expensive.
Yeah.
And so you have to get that regulation in before you start building, or else everything gets grandfathered in. And so the EU is really starting to think about technology as a kind of colonizing tool.
Yeah.
And they don't want the American imprint all over everything.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
Europe.
the European Commission says that the bloc, if you look at Europe as a whole, it relies on foreign providers for over 80% of their digital products, services, infrastructure, and IP. That is a lot.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah.
But also, if you start to look at the, 6 or 7 Silicon Valley companies that run most of our communication infrastructure, we experience the multiplicity of platforms as diversity of technologies. But when you look at who actually owns them, Meta owns a bunch of the technologies that we use, including Facebook and WhatsApp and Threads and Instagram, right? So when you start to look at the ownership structures of these companies, you realize that it's hyper concentrated amongst a few very polarizing key tech figures. It's not the case that we remember AT&T for the excesses of their CEO, right?
Yeah.
And so there is something else going on with the way that the technology sector, and especially these founders and owners, present themselves as the face of the products, that is also creating this fear in Europe. And frankly, I think we feel it here in the United States too, is that too much power concentrated in too few people's hands is corruptive. And so I do think that diversity of technology is going to be a really important foil for government to ensure that there isn't a kind of technological coup. Because one of the problems with someone like Peter Thiel, for instance, is he's been thinking about this since the 90s. He wrote a book called The Diversity Myth. He runs Palantir, that was funded by the CIA. And now he's gone into the U.S. military and the military of several other allied countries. And he now has more access to data than any one government. And we don't necessarily want to be empowering these kind of greedy companies with, more and more infrastructure. It's different than data or them selling a product. This is us. This is our livelihoods. This is what it means to be a democratic nation, is to have infrastructure that treats everybody fairly.
You listen to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with Joan Donovan from the Critical Internet Studies Institute. Well, you talk about the sort of modern tech barons, and they, of course, are all spending a lot of time right now here in the U.S. in an AI battle. U.S. government, President Trump has issued a new executive order in and around AI. This is something that looked like was going to happen, then maybe got shelved, now has kind of come out in a somewhat watered-down version or whatever.
Yeah, it's weak soup.
Yeah, so what do we, I mean, it seems like the upshot of this is that the government's going to get a look at any new model of, AI, LLM or whatever, 30 days before the public does, and then they get to, review it or choose if they want to use it or say this is dangerous, or what is it?
It's so opaque. There had been a big, social movement of people trying to bring about AI safety, and that's been going on for over a decade now. And when Trump took office, he basically sent J.D. Vance to the Munich Security Conference to tell other countries, hey, back off. These are American companies. We're going to do AI the way we want to do it. And so relating back to the other story, this is where people start getting rankled about, politicians start getting rankled about U.S. tech dominance. But then you have stateside and uncontrollable companies with uncontrollable technology. And so the big fear came about as Anthropic released its Claude Mythos version. Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't even know
system,
what to call it.
technology,
yeah, sure.
right? And
platform.
But what ended up happening, unfortunately, is that supposedly this can crack any encryption you throw in front of it. And so it's the end of security if the public gets their hands on this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree with the, bombastic claims about AI taking over the world and whatnot. But we do have this moment where we do need regulation. And what we've got is a handshake deal from these companies to maybe provide the U.S. with a first look. And that, and that is, I think, to conjure up contracts and figure out if the U.S. government is going to buy this technology or not and have a first look. The danger with this, of course, is that they release models so quickly and they iterate on them so fast that the voluntary nature of this is not going to be well worth the energy. Because there's also, to have companies volunteer into self-regulation, there has to be a carrot and a stick. And there's no carrot here. There's no stick.
Yeah.
It's basically an advisory. And so it goes against everything that the movements about AI safety have been pushing, which is that we need much more structure around what happens with our data when we talk to these machines. We need these machines to have guardrails so that they don't bring people towards psychosis or help them plan mass violent events. So the technology itself is not ready for consumer use, and yet it's on the market.
But it is, yeah. I mean, well, so what is the answer here? Because I think that there is no shortage of people out there who are saying exactly what you're saying, that that it's pretty clear that that there is potential clear and present danger to where these these platforms or whatever you call them, these technologies are going, and by the same breath, as you point out. This is happening so fast. Like, how do you? Is it even possible at this? Is the cat out of the bag already? Is there anyone who can catch up and regulate this in a way that's going to be meaningful?
I think the AI companies want us to believe that there's a technologically deterministic vision here. It's going to happen. Might as well let it happen. Might as well accelerate it while it's happening. And on the upshot of that, you have, market manipulation happening. We're about to see major IPOs from these companies, including Musk having rolled most of his debt into SpaceX as an AI company in and of itself.
Do these IPOs, do they give us the potential to see inside of these companies in ways we haven't? Is that potentially something there that gives us at least some sort of transparency?
If we had a functioning, oversight and auditing system and SEC, the problem, of course, is that Musk has been at this and others have been at this for years, weakening regulation around, how investments happen, particularly around retirement accounts. Musk got in with Doge and he raked the American government for data and huge contracts that his companies have gotten and investigations that have been shut down. And so when I think about the AI order, and I also think about the networks and the order of things that are in front of us, I have no doubt that the Securities and Exchange Commission are going to drop the ball on this one because, frankly, it's feeling more like a smash and grab with these IPOs and with the lack of regulation on these companies. And at the same time that we're going through, some other major public health crisis around measles and other kinds of things that used to be taken care of. And so I think, unfortunately, these AI companies are political insofar as they want more data centers, they want more capital.
Yeah.
And so the outcome of this is going to be essentially that these companies are going to generate so much wealth that they're then going to insist on a party politic that, regardless of Democrat or Republican, they're going to insist that politicians support data centers.
Yeah.
And if not, they're going to sue the towns and whatnot. So if you look at what's happening in Michigan right now, OpenAI has recently sued a town that decided they didn't want to do this data center. And so ultimately, I think if we don't get any kind of serious regulation on AI in the United States, we're going to have to look to other countries to get the job done.
Tricky times. Well, there's so much more I would love to talk about, but we are out of time. We've been speaking with misinformation researcher Joan Donovan. Joan is the founder of the Critical Internet Studies Institute, a BU assistant professor of journalism and emerging media studies, and a Curiosity Desk contributor. Joan, as always, thank you for being with us and sharing your time and expertise.
Thanks for having me, Ega.
Up next, we'll learn about a project being cooked up at MIT that involves tiny, and when I say tiny, we mean really tiny robots, controlled remotely by an intricate system of magnets. Sounds pretty cool to me. This is the Curiosity Desk. Stay with us.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, John Carter Cash joins us to open the pages of The Complete Johnny Cash, lyrics from a lifetime of songwriting. It's a rare look at his father's creative world, from the heartbreak to the humor, the hymns to the outlaw ballads that defined American music. A son's tribute to the man in black in his own words and memories. That and more on The Culture Show today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for our programs comes from you. And Rogers Fish Company, founded by Roger Berkowitz, proud supporter of the Catching the Codfather podcast with Ian Koss. Episodes available on gbhnews.org or wherever you get your podcasts. More at rogersfishcompany.com. And The Lyric Stage, presenting Something Rotten, a side-splitting mashup of 16th century Shakespeare and 21st century musical theater. Now through June 7th at Lyric Stage Boston. Tickets at lyricstage.com.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. We're back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow, so if you can, come join us there. Okay, magnets. You know about them. They're all around us. You can find them on your fridge. They're on train tracks. They're at the doctor's office. They're in our smart devices. But there are other examples as well. And for as long as we've been harnessing their power and as ubiquitous as they are, we are still finding new ways to use them. Researchers at MIT have discovered a way to create tiny, and I mean tiny, microscopic robots that can be controlled with magnets of a kind, magnetic nanoparticles. So here to tell us what that is, what it means, and why it's significant, we are joined by the two minds behind the project. Rachel Sun and Andrew Chen are graduate students at MIT in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, co-authors of a study on these so-called magnobots. Rachel, Andrew, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, what are these things? Are they as I described? Are they like just really tiny robots that we control with magnets? Is it that simple?
Yeah, I mean, I like to joke with my friends that it's like 3D printing microplastics, just really fancy shaped microplastics. The ones that people talk about living in their brain, but
but it's real.
It's real. I probably have inhaled many more of them than the average person.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, that's basically it.
That's right.
These microplastics have magnetic particles inside them, and the rearrangement of the microparticles basically allows the overall device to be active when we have a magnet near it.
Okay, so let's take this step by step. First, you say 3D printing. So, we recently were talking with another person from MIT here on the show about using 3D printing to build materials to make houses. And one of the things that he said during that conversation, which really surprised me, was that there was a whole bunch of stuff he has wanted to do for a while and couldn't do because the 3D printing technology needed to take another leap, and it had recently taken that leap. And it sounds like in your work, too, we're looking at 3D printing being like a key to this and having taken a leap. I think this is something, I was talking with our producers before the show, and I was talking about the fact that, 3D printing seemed like the cool, hot thing like 10, 12, 15 years ago or whatever, and everybody was like, 3D printing is going to change the world, and then it kind of went away, and people aren't thinking about it anymore. But it sounds like the technology has continued to chug forward, and that's a big part of what it is that you're doing here. So am I right on that? The printing is a big piece of this?
Yeah, for sure. The 3D printing is, our 3D printing is a little bit different than at larger scales. At larger scales, you have these, probably the person who was printing houses with these is you're extruding material out of a nozzle. But here, what we're doing is we're printing with light. And so...
You're printing with light?
Yes, we're printing with, imagine inside this liquid plastic precursor that you have, and then you can shine a small focus point of a lot of energy at this one focus and solidify the plastic into whatever shape you want within this 3D space of just liquid. And so you're turning liquid into solid and using just laser light. And we're able to do that at such small scales and print something that is like way smaller than the size of your hair in a matter of seconds. And that's kind of how the technology has developed. When I first started grad school, that took a little bit longer, maybe about an hour to print something of that scale.
So, Andrew, what are you printing and why? Like, what are you printing and why?
Yeah, essentially, we want to make these composite materials that are responsive to magnets. And so you have to find a way of making whatever shape you want, but also filling it with the responsive material.
Okay.
So traditionally, if you think about how you might approach this even without printing, then you might do something like, imagine you wanted to create ice cubes, right? You would put some water in an ice cube mold.
Sure.
But the shape of the mold limits the shape of the ice cube. So if you wanted to make an ice cube shaped like a bridge, you would probably struggle to do it.
Right.
So
unless you had a bridge-shaped mold.
Right, and those are really difficult to work with.
I see.
If you have overhangs and complicated shapes and internal features and things like that. So that means we turn to 3D printing. And actually, the first thing we tried for a long time was basically to have these microparticles on the side and kind of dump them into the liquid resin that we would print out of.
Yeah.
And what we would discover is that as we printed over time, those particles would settle and they would scatter this laser light, which needs to be very, very precise, like 100 times smaller than the size of your single human hair. And so the kind of the very nanoparticles that we wanted to integrate became our worst enemy because they would preclude the printing entirely. And so we came up with this method of essentially 3D printing a very loose network of plastic, of polymer, and post-processing it and dunking it into this solution that would then grow the particles inside.
Grow the particles inside?
Yeah, think somewhat like meat marination where you're infusing flavor. We're just making these microparticle or microplastics just having or more flavorful, if you will. And we're just infusing those in, and then we have this process where we set them inside, and it effectively sets the nanoparticles in place.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And so, I mean, aside from just figuring out that you can do this, like what is the dream of what, once you've now cracked it and you say, okay, we can make this tiny little thing in the way we want to. What is the goal? How will we use the thing that you are making? What's the dream?
Yeah, there are a million ways, and that's why we like 3D printing, because you can make whatever shape you want, which means you can do whatever you want. So one example that we came up with was we have these kind of 4 lollipop-shaped structures. So you can imagine almost like a bouquet of lollipops.
I can imagine that.
Right.
Yes.
And so we have these structures, and they're obviously responsive to a magnet as you wave it around. So if you have something you want to grip, you can make this bouquet of structures enclose some structure. And the magic about it is we can control exactly how soft it is. So if you have something really delicate that you want to pick up, you don't want to crush it. Right?
Sure.
You want to make your gripper as soft as possible so that it can hold on to the object, but it won't destroy it.
So what would you pick up with it?
Kind of anything that you can deliver at the micron scale. So something would be like for drug delivery applications inside the human body, or other biomedical applications like delivery of a rigid object.
That's crazy. Do you ever like look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is crazy what I am working on? Like, how do you find your way into this field?
Yeah, I mean, I look in the mirror and say that to myself sometimes. It is I 3D print really wacky materials that do all kinds of wacky stuff, and I think I got into this just in college doing research on like these structures that just looked really cool, and that's what drew me to this field, is like to be able to 3D print these lattice or bridge like support structures that do things like be super lightweight but super strong at the same time. But now they can do all kinds of other things, and this field of metamaterials is really just advancing in the way that we're able to use them, the way that we're able to activate them. Like we can add magnetic particles to them now and make them do things like biomedical functions, or we can make them applicable to soft robotic gripping of like small specimens and stuff like Andrew mentioned. So I think it's just so cool that we can make materials do whatever we want them to, and with the mechanical integrity of being strong at the same time, and that's just really exciting to me.
You listen to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with MIT grad students Rachel Sun and Andrew Chen about their creation of tiny robots powered by magnets. How do you control these things? Well, once you've made it, like how do you get from, wow, we did it, we made this beautiful lollipop looking thing, to I'm now going to get this thing to make a very soft grip and pick this other thing up? How do you do that part of it?
So it really comes in 2 parts, and I'm glad you mentioned fridge magnets at the beginning of this segment, because the first thing we tried was actually to take a fridge magnet and just wave it over these structures that we printed.
Really?
And it was the greatest day when we actually saw them respond and move and wave around. So there, again, 2 parts. First, you have to design the geometry that you want. So you have to think about where you want it to move and what shape you want it to deform into. And the second part is how you want to actually actuate it. So the easiest thing to do is literally just to take a fridge magnet and wave it around. The more sophisticated thing to do, and something that we are excited to try in the future, is to build kind of a more permanent setup with a controllable magnetic field. And that way we can really just kind of program with a computer or elsewhere how we want the magnetic field to look like, and that will allow us to
determine how the thing moves.
Exactly.
You could hook a joystick up to
exactly.
it, right?
So we can kind of sit there with a controller and just make these things drive around.
That's crazy. So you mentioned, when we talk about these like very, things like nanoparticles and very, very small things, I think a lot of people immediately go to, well, stuff inside of the body is very small, and that seems like the kind of thing where the kind of work that you're doing will have potential applications. Is that something that we hope we'll be able to use this stuff for? Is some kind of stuff inside of the body to help us live healthier lives somehow?
Yeah, I think this is where the people talk about the next frontiers of the being space, the human body, etc. And I think that's one of the really promising areas, is to just get to smaller and smaller length scales, to be able to access smaller and smaller parts of the body with greater amount of capability of like how we can control a soft robot, for example. The other things that we could possibly use this for are even just microfluidic devices, for example, to screen genes or to filter out certain chemical compounds, for example, and do this all remotely and make any device that we want to make be remotely actuated rather than to be driven by a bunch of hefty syringes, pumps, etc. So we can just have a valve that opens and closes with a magnet, for example. And then,
wild,
as
yeah.
Andrew mentioned, we can grip really small things with the exact touch that we want it to have, and that can be really helpful for even just like handling marine specimens that are really small but also really delicate. You don't want to go in with a Megazord metal arm.
Big scooper, yeah.
Yep.
Just crushing everything while you try to pick it up. Yeah. You're listening to The Curiosity Desk. We're talking with MIT grad students Rachel Sun and Andrew Chen about their creation of tiny robots powered by magnets. Well, now that you've sort of worked out, you've gotten to this point with this technology, what's next? What's the next thing you're trying to solve, or where are we trying to go with this?
I think the figuring out how to actuate it programmatically is going to be huge, because then we can really just sit there and program these things that do whatever we want. The other thing is probably scalability, right? Basically, we came up with this prototype demo. We showed that it works, and we showed that there are potential applications. But in order to get these to probably scales that we'll need them at for actual real life applications, we'll need to make maybe hundreds of them, thousands of them in a reasonable amount of time. And so that will go hand in hand with these advances in 3D printing technology.
Okay, that makes sense to me. How about for you? Do you agree with that, or do you have another sort of goal in mind as you look at what's next on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean that's something that I've always been interested in too, is just developing 3D printing technologies to be able to scale these materials, robots, and just general devices that we can make super small. Like turning crazy into reality is really what the goal is here. And so whether that's for an application inside the human body or some other sphere, just making it actually tangible and possible in everyday society is something that we're looking at.
Does it make you feel incredibly powerful, like when this works and you're like, I did it, I've created this thing? Like, do you feel like a god, sort of?
The moment I felt like a god was when these little lollipops bowed down to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're just like, I did that. You're nodding.
Yeah, we were there standing in lab, and it was after probably several weeks of trying different things and getting basically nothing to happen when we waved this magnet. And the one time it did something, we didn't believe it at first. We were like, you got to do it again. And we grabbed another lab member and made him watch and showed it to him. And that was our proof.
Do you feel like the general population, I think people sort of generally, they're like, yeah, I get it, scientists are like working on things, but do you think they understand like what it is for you all to work on this kind of stuff, that it is like, as you point out, like you're trying and you're trying and you're trying, you don't know if it's going to work, and then you're like, oh my God, it worked. Like, do you feel like people understand what the work is that you do?
I mean, it's difficult to explain a lot of the work that I do to, like, my grandma, for example.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, it's ultimately trying to develop these materials for everyday uses that just push the frontiers of what's possible and how we can help people in society. And so I think at the end of the day, it is something that, like, when we describe research as a process, it takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of development. I think this kind of work is really important for being able to have an impact on others and solve all kinds of problems in the future.
You agree with that, Andrew?
Yeah, I think, like, especially because we only report in the papers and at conferences and things like that what works, and we only report the results. But again, there's a lot that we learn, like, in the process, and we figure out, what doesn't work and what methods are the best and what methods are only okay. So I think having a healthy appreciation of this stuff that doesn't go well is also super helpful.
I like it. All right, we've been speaking with MIT's Rachel Sun and Andrew Chen about their work on microscopic magnobots. Thank you both for being with us on the Curiosity Desk. Up next, we're taking on some of your burningest, most pressingest curiosity questions, like why are New Englanders so obsessed with iced coffee, even when it's not as hot and sunny as it is today? Where did we get alphabetical order? And is our senior producer gunning to take my job? He joins us next with some answers. This is the Curiosity Desk. Stay with us.
More than half the grades given out at Harvard are straight A's. Students want to keep it that way.
It's a farce to say that there's nothing distinguishing Harvard students just because we all have A's.
Faculty say the standard needs to shift.
I can give an A- and almost inevitably face a bitching, whining, complaining, entitled student in my office. Or I can give an A and not have to bother, and I can get back to my work.
I'm Kurt Carapezza. Find out if a limit on A's could restore the grade's meaning on the latest episode of the College Uncovered podcast. Find it wherever you listen.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Brighton Farmers Market, Wednesday afternoons from 1:30 to 6:30 on Brighton Common in Boston, June through October, featuring a variety of local foods, farm fresh produce, children's activities, and live music. And the Peabody Essex Museum, presenting Edmonia Lewis, Said in Stone, a retrospective of the 19th century Black woman sculptor. More at pem.org.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. We are back at the Boston Public Library tomorrow. Hope you can join us there. Well, as for now, in the Today Moments, it is that part of the show where we venture to answer your curiosity questions. Tons of you have been filling out that question form on the Curiosity Desk landing page. Thank you for that. Now it is our turn to try to bring you some resolution. We've done our homework, talked to some experts, and we have some answers, or as close to answers as we could get. As a reminder, if you have something you are curious about, you go to gbhnews.org under the show tabs, click the Curiosity Desk, find your way to the question form. It couldn't be simpler. Well, actually, it could be a lot simpler, but that is the system we've got, folks. And here with me in studio now, as promised, is Aiden Connolly, senior producer for the show here. Aiden, welcome.
Edgar, it's always great to be here.
All right, we're going to start off with Polly from Medfield. Polly had a question. Take it away, Polly.
How did the alphabet end up in so-called alphabetical order?
I love this question. Polly, I love this question. How did it happen, Aiden?
I know, it's one of those ones you don't think about it, and then you stop for a second, you say,
why this order?
Well, I mean, let's zoom back, okay? So before we had our current alphabet that we know, we had hieroglyphics 5,000 years ago.
You're taking us way back.
We're going back,
Here
Edgar,
we
to
go.
ancient Egypt. Little pictures and symbols.
Take us on a journey.
The word for a lion is just a picture of a lion. You're trying to talk about a pot, you're drawing a little bit of a pot. It's not the most practical. Our team talked with Jane Sansonito, assistant professor of history at UMass Lowell, and she had a little bit to say about where the alphabet started in hieroglyphics. Here is Jane.
So in Egypt, writing is initially developed as part of religion. The word hieroglyph, which refers to one individual of those little characters that you know, means literally, taken from the Greek, sacred writing. Hero means sacred and glyph means written thing. So these are actually the little characters developed to record prayers, records of sacrifices, important dates, information about the gods. And these are used in extremely formal circumstances.
All right, so sacred writing, extremely formal circumstances. It's really only the priests,
the elite,
and the elites that know how to read and write. You needed access to education, you needed access to money, you needed access to the tools in order to do this. Unfortunately, it's not just the elites who need to communicate. Tradesmen, travelers needed a way to get by as well. They didn't have these tools. So over time, they're developing simpler methods. They're kind of taking these hieroglyphics and they're turning them into more like squiggles in order to communicate. It's the proto-Sinaitic script is what it's called. It's directly inspired by the hieroglyphics, much simpler. The pictures began to represent the sounds of the alphabet, unlike the hieroglyphics, which represented the larger ideas, much more detailed. If it's easier to conceptualize, if you're watching on the YouTube stream, we may have an image of the
we got it up.
The proto-Sinaitic. If you're not listening to the radio, just close your eyes and picture a chart of squiggles. Really,
squiggles.
Yeah, squiggles. And it was the way we did it, and representing words, ideas, symbols. Proto-Sinaitic did not have a fixed writing direction, we'll say. They weren't going left to right. It could be written horizontally, up to down. It was kind of all over the place. A little bit later on, we have the Phoenicians, the seafaring traders. They lived on the coast of the Mediterranean. They're expanding upon this alphabet. It's considered a direct descendant of the Proto-Sinaitic alphabet. Their symbols are getting even less complex and more, I guess we would call
streamlined.
What do you call it? Letter-like? Yeah, streamlined. Yeah. Phoenicians also standardized writing from right to left, so thank you to the Phoenicians. Greeks, Edgar, follow them up with their own alphabet.
Yep.
Here we get vowel sounds. Before, it was just kind of an assumption.
Consonants, yeah.
If you were trying to write, say, the word cat, it was C and T. and you had to just sort of guess what came in the middle. So
Based on context.
Yeah, if you get a cut on your arm, it might be hard to communicate.
Especially if you got a cut from a cat.
It's actually a fair point. The Etruscans in Italy, they take it a step further. They're simplifying further. They're adding some letters. They're dropping some other letters. Romans take it from the Etruscans. They adjust. They drop some more letters. We end up with the Roman alphabet. Only 23 letters did not have J, V, or W. But then it grew during the Middle Ages, the Renaissance. People are adding the J's, the V's, the W, and they created the alphabet that we have today.
I mean, that's an amazing story about the
Thank you,
alphabet.
Edgar.
I really like it.
Yeah.
However,
what?
I still have no sense of why in that order.
Oh, you are a stickler, Edgar.
Hey,
Okay,
that's not me. That's Polly. Polly wanted to know.
Well, Polly, the answer is a little bit complicated. And the reason is that we don't really know why the alphabet is the way that it is, because it was so long ago. There are people that have theories. There are language historians that have ideas.
What are the best theories?
One of the theories is that it's there were numbers associated with the individual letters, and that the alphabet is the numerical order associated with those letters. That's one theory. Another one suggested is that it was just created this way because it has a nice sound to it. The A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It was kind of, it had a rhythm to it. It was easy to memorize, not unlike, like, say, a poem.
All right. So people just kind of sorted and got it there. Okay.
Yeah, and that's long and short, as best we could, Polly and Medfield, why we have the alphabet the way that we do.
All right. We really like it. Thank you, Polly, for your question. We're going to move on to Beth from Newport, who had a question for us. Beth said, since ticks have been at issue, fair enough, it is that time of year.
Yeah.
Beth asks, do our pets get Lyme disease or alpha-gal? Alpha-gal.
Alpha-gal, not to be confused with...
Not to be Gall, Zieperman, Lotan.
Who we love.
Who we do love.
Every Tuesdays. Okay, so let's start, Edgar, with how alpha-gal works. Now you have me saying
Alpha-gal.
it. Lone Star ticks, they have this alpha-gal molecule in their gut. When they bite humans, they inject that alpha-gal into the bloodstream of humans.
That's right.
So it's like your immune system says, oh, I don't recognize this. This is bad.
Foreigner.
It creates these antibodies against the alpha-gal. So then when you have, meat, dairy, the thing is, it's not just Lone Star ticks that have this.
Right.
This carbohydrate, this molecule. So cows have it. Pretty much all mammals have it. And so when you're consuming that meat, that a glass of milk, your body is remembering the tick bite. It's saying, "Oh my gosh,
yeah, you've taught it.
You were having this."
An
yes.
invader here. Yeah.
But as for your dog, we have some sound. This is Susan O'Bell from MSPCA. She's a service director. Had some good news.
Fortunately, we don't think that alpha-gal is a concern for our dog companions. It's a carbohydrate that's found in most mammals or all mammals except for humans and other primates.
Yeah. So your dog has alpha-gal. So when your dog's getting bit
already
by
fine. Body already recognizes it.
One
doesn't
thing
freak out.
Less to worry about.
That's great. What about Lyme's disease?
This one's a little bit more of a bummer. The answer is yes, your dog can get Lyme disease, but it's not as bad. So only a small percentage. If your dog gets bit, if it gets infected, only 5 to 10% of infected dogs go on to develop signs of the illness. This is from the American Veterinary Medical Association. The symptoms can be kind of severe. They can get fever. They can lose their appetite, start limping, swollen lymph nodes. 5 to 10%. So it's, for the most cases, it's okay. With people, it's about 90% who come ill.
Yeah.
And then the American Veterinary Medical Association also says little is known about whether infected cats become ill. So we'll have to do some more research on that. And
all right. Well, the message here is it is tick season, so be safe out there for you and your pets.
Yeah.
All right, I think we got time for one more. We're going to turn to Madeline in Bedford. Madeline.
Why are so many barns painted red around here?
I like this, and I don't think it's just around here. I mean, you think barn, you think red in Iowa or in Minnesota or here in New England. It's a great question. What is it? Just like habit?
Yeah. So there are a few different ideas. People have come to the table with myths and legends that say that red barns were there to help livestock, specifically cows, find their way home. Edgar, this is not the case, most likely, because cows are colorblind, partially colorblind.
So the red probably not helping.
Yeah, it was more to do with money. The red was the cheapest color option. The practice is starting in the 18th century. We got these barns. The New England farmers, they wanted to protect the structure. They could create a varnish. It's got linseed oil, lime, and iron oxide, which, of course, under the sun.
The iron oxide turned red.
So it was all about the practicality, and it was a long-lasting paint. It dried. It hardened quickly. And then even when the varnish technology develops, they can do other colors. We still see red, and there's a reason why. And this is Carol Canare, editor of the Old Farmer's Almanac, shares how we got the varnish to the paint.
Even when they started to make the commercial paints that had metallic oxides, they were formulated for barns for the same reasons. It's very protective. And that red paint sold at much cheaper prices than regular house paint. So farmers being thrifty, they bought that for a long time. I mean, I think, again, it now probably is about tradition.
And the Madeline, it looks good.
I'm trying to think, can you picture a barn that you've seen that is not red?
Sometimes you see like the white barns,
I
but
guess
but as far as other flashy colors, not so much.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't
would you like to live on a farm?
You're asking me this.
if you had a farm and you had a barn, would you paint it red?
I think about this sometimes. I love working in public radio, but if I was to detach myself, there is a bit of a fantasy. You have a barn, you have, the tall grass and animals on the farm. And when I close my eyes and I take myself on, a morning, say it's like 12:30, we're about to do the show, and I close my eyes and I picture myself there. Yeah, the barn's probably
red.
Yeah,
the barn's red. All right, that's Aidan Connolly, senior producer for the show. Thank you for being with us. Hey, if you've got something you're curious about, don't hesitate to shoot us a question. Also, if you know of a barn that is not red, let us know. I really want to know. We'd love to send us a picture. I want to see some barns that are not red. And that about does it for us for now. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Lawson, Nicole Garcia, Patty Daniels, and Jamie Bologna always have the A's for our Q's. Our engineer, the one and only John the Claw Parker. Special thanks today to Andrew Massawa and Angelica Marrero. We will be right back in 23 short hours live at the Boston Public Library, live here on GBH 89.7, and of course streaming on YouTube. If you cannot wait that long, we've got a podcast version of the show. You can check that out wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Until next time, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town?